Is this good?
Yep, we're good.
And then we individually can turn you up as well.
How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yeah, you're good.
Not hearing any of you guys.
You don't hear me?
I do. Maybe you guys are just stepping on each other. Sorry.
Okay. There we go. Miss Big Bones. How you doing, Lucy?
Hi, hello.
All right, we are all ready. All right, let's start real quick. Who here has played D&D before? No one?
Bueller.
Oh wow. Okay, this is gonna be awesome. All right, I am going to change your lives, hopefully for the better. And this is gonna be a lot of fun for all of us. All right, this is cool. Let's all introduce each other to each other. So I mean, I'll start first, just to make it easy, and then we'll just go down the line. Let's see. So Eric N will go next, then Eric E, Lucy, David, and Piggy. Okay, a little bit about me. My name is Eric. I've been playing D&D for about 30 years, running games for 30 years, and I started playing 5e about 2 years ago, or a year and a half or so. And I love it. I think it's the best system out there. So you're all coming in at a good time in the D&D timeline. And I don't know, we're just gonna have fun. I love doing this, and I pretty much do D&D like almost every day, whether it's writing or creating maps or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much me. So let's go next down the line. Eric N, you're up.
Gosh, okay. Hi guys, my name's Eric. I've played D&D since I was a kid. And I really got into it when 5e came out. So that was maybe a couple years ago, Eric? I'm not sure.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah. And I DM a couple games, and then play in a couple games.
Alright, cool.
My turn?
Eric E.
Oh, I started watching D&D like several years ago. When I got intrigued, it kind of became a thing. So eventually I kind of got excited and actually wanted to play myself instead of watching it all the time. Still watch it, of course, but I kind of want to dip my own hands into it and figure things out myself. Sounds like more fun than just watching.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone that can act in it. So,
Which, what are you watching mainly?
kind of game. Say that again?
What are you watching? Like, what channels are you watching?
I started actually with roleplay, with Hit Me JP, J-Off, and Koyu and such. So that's 2013 or so already, so it's been about 6 years by now, yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Very cool, very cool. Is there any way you can turn your mic up? You sound very faint.
Yeah, I probably can. Give me a second.
Or maybe get closer to it or something.
In the meantime, I think, Lucy, you do your turn?
Oh God, you put me all to shame. Hi, I'm Lucy. I have had no experience with D&D, though I do like all that fantasy kind of world. And I've never had the opportunity. So I'm Eric E's sidekick. So I kind of sometimes watch with him in the background some of the D&D, but I have never really experienced it. So here I am.
That's awesome. Welcome aboard. You're gonna have a lot of fun. I mean, this is pretty much like the best choose your own adventure that you can be a part of. So hope you have a good time. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, so do I.
All right, David, you're up.
All right, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm David. Might age myself here, but the last time I played D&D was decades ago, so was kind of excited to see the community coming back to life and as big as it is now. So really been wanting to jump back into it and relearn everything. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Very cool. You're in a good place. Your mic is kind of low too. Is there any way you can play with that volume?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind. And then we will jump on to Piggy, which name I already forgot. No, it's Scott. Okay, sorry. Scott.
Yes. How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm gonna outdate all of you. I'm an old man. I probably played this for a year, and that was in the 1980s. So, I don't remember shit from it, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be great. I've been very motivated to play this, and I'm looking forward to learning from you guys.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Things are a lot different, even though you don't remember, anything from back then. This system now is a lot simpler. They simplified everything. They increased the versatility for everything. Back then there were a lot of restrictions, and they got rid of, I want to say, most or all of them. So I think they did a good job with 5e. So yeah. All right, so let's jump into this. We're gonna go through creating everybody's characters. All right. Now, if you are on the Roll20 page, if you go to the top right corner, you're gonna see a circle that has like an I in it, the letter I. Go ahead and click on that whenever you get a chance. All right. This is where all your information is gonna be. The rulebook information, your spells, equipment, class abilities, racial abilities, everything's going to be in here, and we're going to take you literally step by step. That way, I'm going to tell you like how some rules work, but what I really want is to teach you where to find the information yourself. That way you don't have to have somebody holding your hand, and it just makes it a lot more efficient for you, because you'll be able to pick things up faster. And this is just like anything else. It's all about repetition. You're going to wind up doing the same things over and over and over again, and eventually it'll just become second nature. All right, so if everybody can go down and click the rules tab.
Which page are we on? Because I'm unable to find this I.
Okay, in the upper right corner of your screen on the Roll20 page, you're going to see a couple different icons, and there's a circle, like a darkened circle with like a lowercase I in it.
On the main page?
Yeah.
Page?
In the actual module.
Oh, you know what?
Each other out.
If you don't see all the icons on the right hand side, all the way in the right top corner of the screen, you're going to see a little tab with 3 lines on it. Do you see that? It's like right on the edge of the page. And then if you hover over it, it'll pop out. Go ahead.
No, I don't have any of that. I click on the Lost Mines. I've got my name.
Oh, okay.
Home
Launch
game.
game. Launch the
It's
game.
like get in the game.
Yeah. There should be a launch game button.
Launch. The main page, but I'm not seeing the I. I've got messages, journal. Oh, I'm an idiot. Compendium.
That's it. Yep, compendium. Yeah, so click on that and then go down to the rules tab. All right, is everybody there? Oh, sorry about that. Let me shut that off. Everybody in the rules tab?
Yep.
Okay. All right. The second one down, you see something called ability scores. Go ahead and click on that. All right. Once that pops up, this is going to give a brief explanation of what each of your 6 ability scores are going to look like, and what they pretty much are used for. It also talks about the different races and the bonuses that they get, and I'll explain all of that stuff as we're making our character. But pretty much everything in the game are based on these 6 ability scores. All right, everything's in there. So strength, it measures your natural athleticism, bodily power. That's going to be important for a lot of your hand-to-hand fighters or warriors. Dexterity measures physical agility, reflexes, balance, and poise. That's going to be more with your ranged combatants and people who are going to, not so much be toe-to-toe, or if they are toe-to-toe, they're going to not be like the heavy hitters, more like a finesse kind of deal. Constitution measures your health. It's an important stat for pretty much every class because your Constitution is what's going to determine your bonus hit points. I'll get into hit points later on. Right? Intelligence measures, how intelligent your character is and how they process information. As far as skills go, this is going to be for like religion, history, deducing clues, stuff like that. Wisdom is going to be your natural intuition and pretty much your senses, as far as like sight, hearing, smell, things like that. Perception is probably the most used skill in the game. So it's usually a pretty important thing. And wisdom saving throws are also going to be called when, to avoid, losing control of your character, as like being charmed or being put to sleep, things like that. And then charisma, this deals pretty much with, your character's sense of self, how confident they are, leadership or, like social interactions, things like that. All right. Now, when it comes to rolling your character abilities, determining your character abilities, there's two methods that are generally used. One is called standard array, where your character gets, and everybody will have the same stats. Your character will get like a fixed number for their stats, and you can place them however you want, depending on the type of character you want to build. Those numbers are 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. I know that doesn't mean anything right now. I'll get into that. Or another method of doing it is rolling 4d6, dropping the lowest die, and then adding up the 3. You do that 6 times and then place them however you want. Excuse me. Standard array is pretty good if you just want something simple, and it's a lot easier to build characters with that, but it kind of puts you in the middle. Like the average group. When you roll for your stats, you have a chance of being exceptional in either way. You can be exceptionally good or you can be exceptionally bad. And I'm not talking about like attitude or whatever. I'm talking about your character's ability in any specific, type of thing that they're trying to do. Another bad thing about when you roll 4d6 is the group has a tendency or they can be vastly different. So you can have somebody in the group who got really lucky and they kind of outshine everybody else in the group, or you can have a character who rolled really shitty and they feel like they're behind everybody else. So what I'll do is I'm going to leave that up to you. And we'll vote to figure out which way you want to roll your stats or generate your stats, and then we'll deal with that. All right. The next thing that you're going to think about is the different races. If you roll down, there's going to be so there's a tab called races, and what it's going to do, it's going to give a description of all the different races that you'll be able to play in this particular campaign. There's probably like 20 or 25 options in here, so I'm sure you'll be able to find something that you like. And then in the future, as you get more experienced, then you can start exploring more exotic things, and maybe even touching on some homebrew options, which we'll get into that too. There's a lot of different things. I don't expect everybody to learn everything now. Like I said, this is going to be about repetition. So, it's just going to be over and over and over again. Cure wounds. Somebody's already trying to make their character. Okay. Oh, is this, okay, we'll get into that. All right.
Yeah, I just made it. So.
Okay, no problem. Does anybody have an idea of the type of character they'd like to play? Like maybe they have inspiration from a book or a movie or something? Anybody?
Do. A halfling rogue.
Halfling rogue, that's a good staple. That's a great combo. So we have a halfling rogue so far. Any? I know we have a cleric, right? We have an arcane cleric in here. Is that you, Eric? Eric N?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we have a halfling rogue. We have an arcane cleric, right?
Well, because I had no idea, I just rolled dice for the sake of it.
Okay.
and I got a dwarf bard, which is, I think, not a good combination. So
It
I might
can
just
be.
rethink my.
It can be. What's really good about this particular edition of D&D is that everything can be good. It's not like in the older editions where dwarves couldn't cast magic, or dwarves were dour and taciturn, and they were just looked at as assholes by everybody. In this one, it's a lot more versatile. So if you wanted to play a dwarven bard, it's definitely something that you can do. But instead of rolling a random character, I'd rather you pick something that you think is going to be a lot of fun. So like when we're considering our characters, you want to look at your stats or your ability scores. Then we're going to determine your race. We're going to determine your class, and then we're going to determine your background. It can be done in any order. It doesn't have to be done in the order that I specified. But I think for this, it'll be easier. So is everybody on the race tab by any chance? All right.
Is
go
that
ahead.
the race or races by name?
Races by name. It'll just help subcategorize it, for you. But just click on the races one. Alright. And then there's going to be a couple of different tabs in here. Alright, so if you click on choosing a race, it's going to bring you to the point, where it has some information here. For the most part, in most fantasy games, humans, elves, and dwarves tend to be the most common. Halflings, they depend on the campaign. There was a campaign or a world called Dragonlance. They didn't have halflings. They had a thing called Kender, which were pretty much like a close equivalent. And different race. Lord of the Rings, instead of halflings, they're called hobbits. Willow, was like a bunch of halflings. If anybody watched that, right? So those, so you have humans, dwarves, elves. Those are like the main races. Then half elves, gnomes, dragonborn. Those are kind of like a little less common. Then you have tieflings and dragonborn and half orc. Those are even less common. And pretty much each one. I'll give a brief description of each one. Humans are just like us. They're just as versatile as us. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And the human in this game, their strength is their versatility. They either get a +1 to each of their stats, their ability scores, or you have what's called a human variant, where they'll get a bonus to a couple of chosen stats plus a free feat. And the feats in this game are pretty much just like, every couple of levels you get something that allows your character some kind of special ability. And we'll get all, into all that later on. All right. Dwarves. Dwarves are really tough. They're pretty strong. They're very hardy. They have a slower walking speed than the taller races. But their main thing is that they're tough. So like they have high resistance to poison. They usually get extra hit points, and they also, regardless of their class, they'll get some kind of proficiency, like they'll be able to use axes and hammers and, things like that, regardless of their class. And again, I'll get into, more specifics later on. Halflings, I guess the closest thing is going to be the hobbits. They're, except in D&D, I think they're a lot shorter. They're probably in between like 2.5 to 3.5 feet tall. They're very nimble, and they're brave. For a race that's that small and stereotypically weak, they have resistance to being frightened. They're also very lucky. That's pretty much like the halfling thing. And what their luck enables them to do is when they roll a natural 1 on a d20, which is the lowest you can roll, they can re-roll it. And again, I'll get into all this stuff later on. Let's see, elves. I think everybody knows what elves are. They're magical, long-lived races. There's a couple of different types of elves. Same thing with the dwarves. Each of these have like different sub-races that help, break them up even more specifically. But elves, you have the standard high elves, which would kind of be like the Lord of the Rings elves, I think. Noble, magical, archery, things like that. Then you have wood elves, and those are going to be like the more nature oriented, the more reclusive elves. These are the ones that are gonna live in like the big tree houses and like dark forests that are, you know, hidden from, you know, most civilizations and whatnot. You have dark elves. They're also called drow, and this race of elves, they pretty much live underground. They can see in the dark. They have very dark skin, and they have some like really cool innate magical abilities. You know, and elves, they also get proficiency with certain things regardless of their class as well. You know, archery, long sword, short sword. High elves get free magic. You know, wood elves, they can they're a little bit faster than the regular elves, and they can hide in like fog or, you know, darkness and stuff. You know, as opposed to actually like having to hide behind something, they can just hide if there's a fog. You know, that's like one of their special abilities. And then the dark elves, they get a couple of like inborn magical abilities, you know, things like that. Let's see who's next. So dwarves, elves, halflings, humans. Half elves are a combination of elves and human. They get some of the elves special abilities like resistance to charm and whatnot. Oh, also elves, one of their big things is they really don't need to sleep. They have a thing called the reverie or a trance where they can meditate for like 4 hours, and it's the equivalent of resting for a whole night. So that's kind of nice, especially when you're traveling. All right, so Dragonborn. Different settings have different rules for Dragonborn. For the most part, they were magically created by, you know, dragons as a form of soldier. They were pretty much enslaved, and most Dragonborn hate dragons. They see all of them as evil, even the good ones. They don't worship, you know, dragon gods like Bahamut or Tiamat, because, you know, even though, you know, Bahamut is a good god, they're all looked at as evil regardless. Whether or not they have tails, I don't care. That's cosmetic. It's up to you. According to this Forgotten Realms setting, they don't have tails. But if you want a tail, I don't care. It's not gonna like change the game. Gnomes. There's a couple different types of gnomes. Some of them, and it's weird. Gnomes kind of they're like a mix of a couple different races. You know, they're highly magical. You know, they do get some resistances to like magic and stuff like that. And you know, there are rock gnomes which live underground or, you know, in hills and, you know, things like that. And these gnomes are known for their tinkering. You know, they make whatever you can think of, like little, you know, black powder bombs, or like a repeating hand crossbow, or little clockwork items, wind-up toys, lighters even, you know, like a cigarette lighter. You know, they make that stuff. Then you have forest gnomes. Forest gnomes are going to be like the ones who are more, I guess, mythological, you know, like Northern European mythology, you know, living in forests, very reclusive. You know, they could be compared to like maybe leprechauns, or, you know, like some kind of fey creature, you know, even garden gnomes, I guess, if you want a pointy hat, I'm cool with that. And then they have deep gnomes, which are like the dark elves. They live way underground. They have like some cool magical abilities and whatnot. Let's see who's next. All right, half orcs. Half orcs are a combination in some settings of elves. I mean, not elves, humans and orcs. You know, they got together by whatever means and created this breed. Sometimes people just like having half orcs be their own species to avoid the whole implication of possible rape and, you know, those tropes that are kind of getting outdated. But this race they're very tough. You know, they excel at being frontline fighters, and they're pretty hard to kill. They have a special ability that if they get knocked unconscious, you know, like one time per day, they can automatically revive themselves so they're not dying. It's a pretty nice ability when it comes into play. Tieflings are a mixture of devils and humans. So they usually have horns. You know, they come in different skin colors. Sometimes they're red. A popular tiefling running around right now is Jester from the Critical Role show. You know, Molly Mook, he was a tiefling also. These are actually a really fun race to play, in my opinion. They're very charismatic. They have some natural magical abilities. They have some cool defensive abilities. The only thing is that being that they are half devil and they're awfully very charismatic, people kind of look at them weird, and they either look at them with awe or like fear, because of their heritage. So, that's pretty much that. And then, there's a couple, that's like the main races, and then there's sub races, also that I kind of explained. When we get to the character making, there are going to be more options that you see, in the compendium. All right. So after race, then we're going to go to class. All right. I know this seems like a lot. We'll get through this. All right. It's a lot of info dumping right now. Anybody have any questions right now?
With the races, you had halfling.
Yeah.
This compendium has only the Lightfoot. It doesn't have the stout halfling.
Doesn't have the stout. That's is that in Skag? The Sword Coast Skag?
Yeah, that's the player's guide.
Yeah, I think that's in
Yeah,
the.
you cannot see Exanator's guide.
No problem. I was just curious.
Show up in
I'm
Son
not
of
sure. I
Thirst
mean,
Guide,
we can always put them in manually if you wanted to pick something different. That's not here. We'll just have to copy and paste it from somewhere. The longer we play this, the more books I'll get, and that's pretty much like what the fees are. I'm not getting rich off of this. That's pretty much just to help chip in for the subscription, the books that are being paid, the maps, stuff like that. All right. Any other questions on races? No. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Got some quiet people.
I'm good.
Just soaking it in.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's move on to classes. There are 12 classes, and then a bunch of different subclasses that we'll get into as you guys all level up. All right. Quick description. So if you go to the compendium, same deal. That circle with the eye. You go down to classes, and then if you scroll down there, it's gonna give like a quick description, of each of the classes. And all this information is in the player's handbook. So if you have a physical copy of the player's handbook, and you'd rather look through that, that's fine. I'm just trying to show everybody what's here so you know where to find it here. But, alright, so just quick descriptions. The barbarian, a fierce warrior of primitive background who can enter a battle rage. Alright, barbarians don't have to be savage. This is kind of the template or the archetype that they set up. So it's easy for people to understand and it's easy to integrate into the game. But if you just want to look at it as a skill set or an ability set as opposed to an actual title, I'm cool with that. So if you wanted to play, a big strapping bouncer who wore suspenders and they're like boxers, and you don't want to be a monk, you could play a barbarian. You could do that. You don't have to, just because you're a barbarian, it doesn't mean you have to be like a Native American brave or a Viking or like Conan. Conan the Barbarian's a classic. It's just, they set it up like this so that it's easier to integrate into the game. But, if you just want the abilities and not necessarily, the stuff that goes behind the actual class as per the book, we can work with that. That's fine. They have the highest hit die in the game, which means they pretty much can have the highest hit points. Their primary ability is going to be strength. They're pretty much a melee class, and when they go into rage, they can do extra damage. As long as their attacks are using their strength skill, and they get resistance to damage when they're in rage. And they're kind of, they're stereotypically just big dumb brutes. But again, you don't have to be that way. They can use light and medium armor. They can use shields, and they can use simple and martial weapons. Simple weapons are pretty much things that anybody can use. Like a knife, a staff, a club, a mace, a sickle. Those weapons usually are on the lower end of the damage spectrum. And then you have martial weapons, which are ones that usually require some kind of training, and those are the ones that put out like more damage. So you have like a great sword, a great axe, a maul, which is like a big two-handed hammer, long swords, battle axes, pole arms, different things like that. So that's going to be the barbarian. All right. Saving throw proficiencies are going to be strength and constitution. The strength, you're probably not going to see too much in the game. That's going to be against, I guess, things that are going to try and restrain you, or grapple you and keep you in place. Maybe if a ceiling is falling on you and there's no way to jump out of the way, then a strength save might be used to, maybe catch the ceiling, so you can hold it up so everybody else can get out. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Constitution is a pretty common save. That's going to be used for things like poison, maybe being put to sleep. Let's see what else. Exhaustion levels. Constitution, like I said before, is a pretty important stat for just about any type of character. Constitution is also used for wizards and, spellcasters if they're going to concentrate on a spell. And we'll get into that later on. Alright, the Bard. An inspiring magician whose power echoes the music of creation. Bards are pretty fun. They're better if you're comfortable with role-playing because they are pretty social characters. Their main ability score is charisma. They use that for persuading people, lying to people, intimidating people, casting their spells, performing. There's a lot of things, but they're a lot of fun. They're very versatile too. They're a fantastic support character, and they get a little bit of everything. They can cast some spells like a wizard. They can cast some spells like a priest. One of their cooler abilities is called Jack of all trades, and what it does is it enables them to get some kind of bonus to every single skill in the game, even if they're not proficient with it. For their saving throws, dexterity, which is probably the most used saving throw, they're going to get a bonus with that, and then the same thing with charisma. Charisma saves are going to be things like, I guess, like losing your mind, or for certain types of magic, things like that. But a dexterity save is going to be used for minimizing damage for spells, avoiding traps, giving you a higher armor class, depending on the type of armor you wear, like light and medium armors, things like that. Okay, they get proficiency in light armor, which is pretty much leather armor, studded leather, and hide armor, I believe. Or not hide, padded, I'm sorry. Their proficiencies with, they get simple weapons, which is everything I explained before: clubs, quarterstaffs, sickle, knife, dagger, things like that. Hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. 5e is great in the sense that it tells you exactly what everything can and can't do. Well, actually, no, it tells you what everything can do. If it doesn't say you can do it, assume you can. It's really simple. Okay, clerics. Clerics, a priestly champion who wields divine magic in service of a higher power. Priests gain their power from a god. There are all different types of gods out there, and each of them have influence over what's called a domain. Each domain is going to give a cleric a special ability or a number of different special powers. Some examples are life. These are the clerics who are they pretty much spend their existence helping people, healing people, destroying undead. Undead are like vampires, skeletons, zombies, things like that. Banishing demons and devils, and just think of any kind of priest. So whether it's a Catholic priest or a shaman, or there's a bunch. There's nature domains. So that would be more like a pagan type thing. There's war domains. There's order. There's arcane. There's so many different types of domains out there, and each of them they're vastly different. So there are some that are combat oriented. There are some that are more magic oriented. There are some that are more utility based. And I think clerics are probably, all in all, the best class in 5e because of their versatility. They're like the only ones who can really do everything and be really, really good at it. Whether it's fighting hand to hand, range combat, spells, utility, defense. Helping out with skill checks like with guidance. That just popped up in the chat. They're fantastic classes. Their hit points, they're kind of in the middle. So they're pretty tough, but they're not as tough as barbarians and fighters. Their main stats can be based on wisdom. Which I mentioned before it deals with just insight, a general understanding of the world, your senses, things like that. Their saving throws are going to be wisdom and charisma. So wisdom saving throw is going to be keeping control of your mind, not being possessed. Same thing with charisma. Both of those things deal very much with a person's just inner self and their mental strength. They get light and medium armor proficiencies. Some domains give extra stuff. Like I know the life domain, the nature domain, the war domain, they all give proficiency in heavy armor. They get shields and then simple weapons. And again, domains, each domain gives a different benefit. So some domains might give you proficiency in a different type of weapon. That's above the simple category. All right, now you have druids. This would actually be the more realistic or comparison to, let's say, a pagan spiritualist, or maybe a Native American shaman, or any type of divine caster that gets their power from nature. They don't necessarily have to worship a god, even though there are nature gods. Some people play where the druid, they get their powers directly from the elements themselves. Some look at them as being able to control the elements. Some druids look at themselves as actually being the elements. It's like, I am the storm, I am the tidal wave. It depends on how you want to take it. But they're they tend to be very reclusive. They prefer being outside in the wilderness as opposed to being inside a big city. And then as they get to a higher level, they're going to get to choose what's called a circle. And each circle gives something special, to the druid. A really common one is a moon druid, and they are the most powerful shapeshifters of all the druids. One of the druids' coolest points is their ability to shapeshift into different animals. And whether it's a wolf or a bird or a turtle or a dinosaur, or even an elemental. Some of these druids, when they hit a certain level, can turn into magical creatures. So they have that, plus their spell casting, and it's mainly nature magic. But they're good in combat. They can call lightning from the sky. They have a spell called Goodberry, which is really cool. It helps people, not have to worry about hunting, while you're traveling. They deal with plant growth. They have a spell called Druidcraft, which can be used to predict the weather. They're usually pretty good with animals. And their main thing is they want to see nature thrive. Most of them tend to be neutral, at least back in the older days. And they didn't really get involved with the wars and things like that of civilized places. It was more like, we're going to protect the woods or the desert or nature or wherever. They were like the quote unquote tree huggers, and they have a pretty unique relationship with Fae usually. They have spells later on that allow them to summon fairies and sprites and all types of cool things, to help them in fight. Hit point wise, they're kind of in the middle, with the exception of their shapeshifting. When they shapeshift into an animal, they actually become that animal, literally, and they get those hit points. And then after those animals' hit points have been reduced to 0, they get forced back into their natural form, whatever it is, human, elf, They're pretty versatile, but they're very difficult to play because they're so involved. There's a lot of different things for the druid, that make them really cool. All right, they get light and medium armor, and it says here non-metal. That's going to vary from game to game. I believe, according to the book, it says they won't wear metal armor. So I think that they can, but it's kind of looked at as a taboo thing. I also play that, if you wanted to wear medium or heavy armor, you can have it made from a different material. It doesn't have to be metal. It can be bones. It can be scales. It can be, the plates from a turtle shell, whatever. So there's always ways around that, but it's going to vary from game to game. They get proficiency with shields, again, non-metal. So they can use a wooden shield, a leather shield, a giant turtle shell, whatever you can think of. Just, they're kind of think of them as like vegans, I guess, maybe. I don't know if that's a good comparison. Where they don't really care. Oh, no, they'll use animal products. So, no, that's a bad comparison. Never mind. All right, as far as weapons go, it's very specific. Instead of them getting just simple weapons, the whole group, they get clubs, daggers, darts, javelins, maces, quarterstaffs, scimitar, sickles, slings, and spears. Each of these have, can be used differently, and depending on the type of stats you have, might determine which ones you wind up going with. But if you choose that class, you get everything that comes with it. Okay, we're gonna move on to fighters. Fighters, they're really fun. Great beginner class, very versatile. Whether, anything, I'm drawing a brain fart. But, you got Red Sonja, she's a fighter. Robin Hood could be looked at as a fighter. He's probably more of a ranger, but it's just real simple. Master of martial combat, skilled with a variety of weapons and armor. A fighter could pick up any weapon and be good with it. Fighters are pretty tough. As far as hit points go, they get a D10. Oh, also, just real quick, I'll explain the dice. You have a D4, which is a 4-sided die. If something says 3D4, that means you roll 3 4-sided dice. Okay, for our stats, if we choose to roll them instead of going with standard array, we're going with 4D6. That means you're going to take a D6 and roll it 4 times. We're going to do all the rolling in the program, but just so everybody understands, a D10 is going to be a 10-sided die. Percentiles, like if somebody needs a number from 1 to 100, you would roll 2 D10. One of them would take the tens place, one would take the single units. D20 is going to be the most common die that we see in this game. That's going to be used for skill checks, saving throws, ability checks, initiative, pretty much everything. Whether or not you're going to hit something, that's going to be the D20. So make nice with the D20 because it's going to be here. Okay, strength or dexterity for their stats. What makes fighters really good in this edition is they're not limited to just being effective while they're strong. You can play a fighter who's like a musketeer. Someone who wears light armor, someone who uses their dexterity or their finesse to do their fighting, like fencing, or, somebody with like a really fancy person with a quarterstaff, things like that. Or you can go the classic route and go with strength, where you just want to bash things. Dexterity is going to also be important for ranged combat. So if you want to play an archer, or somebody who specializes in the crossbow, or maybe even throwing knives, dexterity, you don't need a high strength for that. You'll be fine with dexterity. Their saving throws are going to be strength and constitution. As mentioned before, strength really you're not going to see it too often, but constitution is a pretty important thing. So same deal. Your saves versus poison, exhaustion, things like anything that's going to like compromise your health. Okay, they get proficiency in all armors, so it's going to be light, medium, and heavy armors. They're going to get proficiency in shields, simple, and martial weapons, which, like I said, they can pretty much pick up any weapon and be effective. All right, we're going to move on to monks now. If anybody has any questions, please just jump right in. Okay, don't be shy. Unless you want to hear me talk for the next couple hours. The monk. Master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. This pretty much comes from the classic, I guess, like East Asian or Southeast Asian, hand-to-hand combat stuff. Kung Fu is pretty much like the foundation for this, but again, you can expand it however you want. If you want it to be an American boxer, or you want it to be, I don't know, somebody who practices like Krav Maga, from the Middle East, or Capoeira from, Brazil. It's pretty much any, or Jiu-Jitsu even, or whatever. Any type of hand-to-hand combat, mixed martial arts, this is pretty much going to be the class that's going to be the most effective with it. All right. They are the only class that can make an unarmed attack that does more than 1 point of damage, plus their strength modifier. Okay, they're the only class who can do it. There's a feat called Tavern Brawler, which allows people to make unarmed attacks, and there are some races that give you some natural attacks, like a bite or horns or claws, things like that. But this is the only class that does it. Starts off pretty weak, in the beginning, but their hits can get as powerful as the Great Axe later on, or close to it. They're a lot of fun to play if you're a tactical player. They really don't put out the most damage hand to hand, but they can be sneakier than a rogue, or a thief. And their bread and butter is pretty much their stun ability. Once they hit 5th level, they can stun people with their unarmed attacks, and they get a lot of them too. So while they might not do as much damage on each one, collectively you get more chances to do some serious damage out there. And again, if you're a tactical player, where you can stun somebody and then maybe knock them down, and then grapple them on the ground so they can't move, so you just like pounding them like a ground and pound kind of deal. They're fantastic. They're also very fast. Like, they can run around pretty fast, they can jump, they can climb. Eventually they're able to run across water and just straight up run up walls. So if you wanted to play like a ninja, a monk, or any kind of like hand-to-hand fighter that doesn't really use weapons, even though they can, the monk is the way to go. Alright, dexterity and wisdom are going to be their main stats. A lot of their monk abilities, their toughness for those abilities, or everything they do is going to be opposed. So let's say they try and stun something, that whatever they hit is going to have to make, let's say, a Constitution save versus their DC. DC is pretty much like a difficulty rating, and it will be a number from, on average, let's say 5 to 20. And what you're going to do is you're going to roll that D20, based on whatever's being done. You're going to add whatever modifiers need to be added, and then you're going to have to meet or beat your DC in order to succeed. So let's just say, for example, a monk punches you, tries to stun you, and they have a DC of 15 to avoid being stunned. Your character is going to make your Constitution saving throw. If you get a 14 or lower, your character will be affected by whatever happens. If they roll a 15 or higher, they'll avoid it. Okay? Does everybody understand that?
Yep.
I only hear one yet.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, I'm assuming everybody's good with everything. So, all right. Okay. They get no proficiency with armor, but what they do is they have their martial arts, and they have an ability called unarmored defense. And what they will do is they'll start off with a base armor class of 10. All right. AC is just like DC. So whatever your AC is, if something's trying to hit you, it stands for armor class. If something's trying to hit you, they have to meet or beat your armor class in order to affect you with that attack. Otherwise it misses, the armor catches it, you deflect it, whatever, Alright, so they're going to get all simple weapons, so same deal, quarterstaff, dagger, sickle, clubs, maces, things like that, and short swords. And those are considered monk weapons for them, and they can use their dexterity as a modifier. Instead of strength for a lot of those weapons, like a club or a hand axe. Those are usually strength-based weapons, but with the monk, they were able to use their dexterity instead. Okay, paladins. The classic knight in shining armor, King Arthur, is looked at as the classic paladin. A holy warrior bound to a sacred oath. Now, they don't necessarily have to worship gods the way clerics do. They get their power from their conviction to their oath, and each oath is going to be different, and each one offers different types of abilities. So if you want to be the classic knight in shiny armor, you might want to look at the the oath of devotion, or the oath of the crown, where you swear fealty to a lord, and that lord could be anything. It could be an elven king or queen. It could be a dragon. I mean, it just depends. It'll depend on your character's background. right? But these characters, ideally, they're the classic hero. They really are. But you don't have to be that. You know, they have the ability to heal people with their touch. They can remove the effects of this disease and poison with their touch. You know, they eventually become immune to disease and poison. I think, well, not poison, but disease eventually. Monks get some of those resistances too. But their main ability, they get some spell casting. They kind of, you know, they're a combination of fighters and clerics. You know, they have this ability called Smite, where they're able to take their spell energy and focus it on an attack. And sometimes it can be really devastating, and it's really good versus like undead, fiends, you know, which are like devils, demons, things like that. They're pretty difficult to play because of their oath. It can be very restricting. And what happens is if they break their oath, they become what's called an oath breaker. So they'll lose their current set of abilities, and they might get some other ones that they don't necessarily like. But I mean, that's an option, you know. So I mean, if you ever want to play like a Black Knight, or you know, like some kind of knight that's, you know, swears fealty to something evil, you know, an Oathbreaker might be an option. I don't really recommend them because it's a group game, team game. We're all here to play together, and just generally speaking, you don't. I mean, it's not fun for the group when you choose to make a character that hurts the group, doesn't get along with the group, is hard to, you know, reach, or doesn't want to communicate, you know, like those lone wolves or whatever. It's like, just leave me alone. Like, that's not fun. You know, I mean, you're here to play together with everybody. It's easier when the players make characters who are willing to play together. It's just better for everybody. Alright, they get a D10 for hit points. They're considered one of the martial classes. So they're fantastic in hand-to-hand combat. You know, whether they're using a great sword or the classic sword and shield, you know, dexterity usually isn't as important to this character because they tend to go with heavy armor. They tend to, not always, you know, but that's something that some people sacrifice, you know, when they're playing paladin, because like I said, it's not necessary for them. It won't hurt them, but it's not something that's going to really, you know, make or break them because they have the option to wear the heavy armor. Strength and charisma are going to be their main stats. Strength, obviously, for the melee combat, or melee combat, and charisma, you know, because of their sense of self and conviction to their oath, they become natural leaders, and they're fantastic usually with social interactions. They usually command, you know, just a general, you know, respect or sense of authority from people, unless they do something to compromise. Their saving throws are going to be wisdom and charisma. Again, wisdom is really good. You know, charisma, it's not as, you know, you're not going to see it as often. But again, you know, because of their strong sense of self and their iron wills, so to speak, you know, those are going to be their better saving throws. They get proficiencies in all armor, shields, simple and martial weapons like the fighter. So same deal, they can pretty much pick up any weapon and be effective with it. The ranger. Rangers, they get a lot of hate in 5e. They're one of my favorite classes. D&D is pretty much composed of three major components. You have combat, which everyone's pretty much familiar with. You know, a lot of people play D&D just to roll dice and fight. It's a big part of the game, right? But you also have social interaction, which is equally as important. I guess it depends on the style of game. You know, some people just want to do what's called hack and slash, where they just run through a dungeon and kill things, collect loot. You know, they treat the game like a video game. You know, and that's fine. Some people like that, but some people like experiencing D&D for everything it offers, which is, you know, combat, social interaction, and exploration. The ranger excels at exploration. They're the wilderness warriors. You know, they get nature magic. They're excellent trackers. You know, think, you know, Robin Hood, Vampire Hunter D. You know, trying to think of some other like really popular rangers. I don't know. I mean, any of them out there that kind of like, just the wilderness explorers. What makes them unique from any of the other classes is they get what's called a favorite terrain and a favorite enemy. Favorite terrain can be like forests, mountains, hills, swamp, desert, Arctic, underground, whatever, stuff like that. But it's going to be a specific type of environment where they're going to excel on certain checks, so it's going to pretty much be like survival, so finding food, hunting, finding shelter, finding safe water, being able to trek, being able to move through difficult environments without being slowed down. If a group is traveling through a thick forest and they don't have a ranger, their movement gets cut in half instantly. So instead of traveling an average of 3 miles an hour, without a ranger, your group automatically falls down to 1.5 miles an hour. So if you're traveling for a whole day, let's just say 12 hours, give or take, instead of traveling 24 miles, you're gonna maybe hit 12, give or take. So rangers are really good in that sense. Now, for their favorite enemies, they spend a lot of time studying their favorite enemy. It can be dragons, it can be undead, aberrations, it can be orcs and goblins, it could be, priests of a dark god. I mean, anything. Demons, devils, underground stuff, whatever. They're going to be really good at getting information about these things, identifying weaknesses, being able to track them down, and pretty much just, they're going to have an edge on anybody else in the group who might not know anything about something you come across. So just like a wizard, which we'll get to later, might have more knowledge on the arcane or just, magical stuff, whatever. The rangers are going to have, they're going to be more knowledgeable for their specific terrains and their species enemies or favorite enemies. So their hit dice are D10. So same deal with the paladins and the fighters. They're really tough and they're great combatants. Rangers, they have the option of going melee based or dexterity based. Most people go with dexterity and they kind of go with they fight with either 2 small weapons, like 2 short swords, 2 hand axes, something like that. And they kind of focus on either archery or some other kind of ranged combat. They can also go melee based. It's not as common, but when they are seen, they're pretty awesome. Just imagine somebody running around with 2 battle axes or 2 long swords or a spear and a net. Anything, or a trident and a net, things like that. They're really cool in that sense. Their subclasses, they're all different. Some of them, you could be a Beastmaster, which is probably the most hated class in all of 5e because people think they're weak. And what happens is you get an animal companion that'll be, defined by the class. Or you can be a hunter, where, you focus on hunting dragons or giants or vampires. Something like that. They have a bunch of different options. Gloomstalkers, they excel in dark environments or whether it's like a really thick and dark forest or underground in a dungeon, things like that. Their saving throws are going to be strength and dexterity based. Strength, again, it's not too common. Dexterity is probably the most common. So they excel at, dodging out of things, getting out of the way, avoiding getting tangled, stuff like that. Their magic, a lot of it's really cool because it deals with crowd control, stealth, or adding damage, to your attacks. One of their coolest spells is called Hunter's Mark, and what they do is they cast that on their enemy, and it gives them an extra d6 of damage every time they hit with something. So if you're a ranger and you're shooting something with 3 arrows, each of those will get an additional d6 of damage. And the thing that's great about Hunter's Mark is, you know where the creature is. That's smart. So, even though it might be hiding from you or whatever, you should still be able to track it. And it works for melee or ranged attacks. They have some other cool stuff like Pass Without Trace, which, it's a spell that enables the entire group to hide a lot more easier. And it also prevents things from tracking you unless it's via magical means. So if you're on the run from something, you can cast, or they can cast Pass Without Trace on the entire group, and make it a lot more difficult for you to be found. All right, hold on one second. All right, so that's the ranger. They're gonna get proficiency in light and medium armors. They just don't do well in the heavy armors because I'm assuming it's just noisy, and a pseudo full plate in the forest would probably be really difficult for you to hunt in. They do use shields, or they can. It's not seen too often because most people go with 2 weapons if they're going to be in hand to hand, and they get proficiency with simple and martial weapons. Okay, we're gonna move on to the rogue, often misspelled as rouge. Alright, a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles and enemies. Rogues are pretty much like your sneaky people. Your thieves, your assassins, arcane tricksters, scouts. Rogues are a great class because they get something like every single round. They'll never really get more than 1 attack a round, which most classes don't. Unless it's a martial class or whatever, or a special ability through a class. But they get something called sneak damage. And what that enables them to do is, they can hit something really hard if certain conditions are met. If the target doesn't see you, like if you're hiding from the target, you can apply your sneak damage. If you have a friendly ally within 5 feet of the target that you're trying to hit, and you're within 30 feet of it, you can use sneak damage. As long as the weapon is ranged, light, or finesse, you can apply sneak damage to it. Alright, and that can be done once per turn. So, every single round, you can run out, shoot something with your arrow, and then try and duck behind a tree. And then the next round you move around again, pop out from a different tree, shoot. And so think like hit and run tactics. That's from if you're gonna do range. If you're gonna be in melee with your fighters, it's very common for you to have 2 short swords, or maybe a rapier and a dagger, or whatever it is, helping out the fighters. And while the fighters trading blows, going face to face, you're trying to sneak around and stab whatever it is in the back, or think of it like dirty fighting. Rogues are also really good at exploration. They can usually climb really easily, tightrope walking, disarming traps, finding traps. There's so many cool things that a rogue can do. They're very versatile. They get a lot of skills. They also get something called expertise, which makes them really good at specific things. So I think when you start off at first level, you get 1 or 2 things that you're gonna get expertise in, and what that does is it enables you to get double your proficiency bonus. So at first level, if your proficiency bonus, let's say, is +2, a rogue who has expertise in that skill will automatically get a +4. Okay, and we'll go over all these skills and stuff. Okay, so they get D8 for hit points, which puts them in the middle. They're not the weakest, they're not the toughest. Dexterity and intelligence are going to be their main skills. Dexterity is going to be, sleight of hand if you want to pick somebody's pocket. If you want to pull out a dagger, without anybody noticing and hide it, under your cloak. That's sleight of hand. Acrobatics. So if you want to do some parkour, do some flips, or there's a big ogre and you're trying to tumble through its legs so you can get behind it or escape. That's dexterity. That's acrobatics. Intelligence is going to be things like, figuring out puzzles, disarming the traps, trying to maybe, pick locks, things like that. It's all going to be different, but those are going to be the 2 things that you get your saving throws in. So again, dexterity is good for dodging, minimizing damage from fireballs, burning hands, acid arrows, traps. Intelligence is going to be good for you to help avoid being affected by illusions, things like that. Intelligence you're not going to see too often, but when it does pop up, it's good to be, to have that proficiency in it. All right, they get proficiency in light armor. All right, and this is the same deal because they pretty much sneak around and they're agile. Heavy armors are going to compromise that, so they can only use, leather armor, studded leather, padded armor, things like that. They get simple weapons. They get hand crossbows. Hand crossbows are going to be really good for them because they're easy to hide. Some cities consider hand crossbows to be illegal, so because assassins and dark elves like to use them. But again, that's based on the campaign. Regular crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. Now, remember, their main thing is sneak attack. Like as far as damage goes, certain weapons like the longsword, you can't use sneak attack with that. So unless you're playing like a thug or some kind of like brutish type of rogue, it's probably not in your best interest to carry one or use one. But knowing how to use a longsword will enable you to pretend you're a guard or something like that. So it has its uses. It just depends on the player. How implement them into the game. Okay. Another really cool thing about rogues is that when they get higher level, they're like one of the only classes who can use any magic item. Certain magic items require certain classes. Like a Staff of the Magi, which is like an artifact that you've probably never seen, can only be used by certain type of characters. A rogue might actually be able to tap into that and use it. Okay, moving on to the sorcerer. A spellcaster who draws their inherent magic from a gift or a bloodline. These are a lot of fun. They're a lot easier to play than wizards because they have like limited spells. But their special ability is that they're able to manipulate their magic in ways that nobody else can. They're weak as far as hit points go, so they don't do well with getting hit. So they usually do better like standing in the back or in the middle of the group and supporting the group in terms of either buffing the group, debuffing the enemies, or just blowing stuff up. Since they get a limited number of spells that they know, they actually can cast a few more. So they kind of trade versatility for quantity in that sense. When they hit second level, they get what's called meta magic, which is their ability to manipulate magic. And they use sorcery points for that. And sorcery points, each of them have different costs. Depending on what you want to do, you can either quicken a spell, so that instead of it taking one action, it turns into a bonus action. I'll explain all that stuff later on. You can twin a spell, so that instead of just casting one spell, two spells come out. Everything has limitations, and everything's like you can't really twin a fireball because it affects more than one target. But you could definitely twin, let's say, a firebolt, something like that. And again, we'll get into that. If anybody's a sorcerer, we'll get into that in more detail. Sorcerers, now it says here you can get it from a gift or a bloodline. An easy way to figure out the bloodline is they have like a draconic type of sorcerer, and pretty much somewhere in your ancestry somebody got busy with a dragon, and this bloodline has transferred through. However, maybe it skips generations or whatever, but somehow your character wound up with it. It's going to have some kind of physical thing that shows the draconic heritage, and whether or not you try and keep that hidden or you embrace it or whatever, that's going to be up to you. So if you have draconic heritage, maybe one of your arms has a bunch of scales on it, or maybe you have like reptilian eyes or a forked tongue, or whatever. Maybe you have a small tail. It's pretty much cosmetic. Another common sorcerer is called a wild mage. And where did that come from? I know it came from the Forgotten Realms. Forgot the name of the series. But a wild mage is someone who they have this magical ability, but they don't necessarily know how to control it 100%. So every time they cast a spell at first level or higher, they're going to roll a d20. To get a certain number, then a wild surge happens. And depending on what the chart says, it can alter how the spell is affected, or whether or not it even gets cast. I had a wild mage in a previous campaign. He tried casting a spell at a bad guy, rolled his wild surge, and he turned into a sheep. For an hour. So sometimes Sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. You know, but it's always a lot of fun. And then there are different types of sorcerers too. You know, there's a shadow sorcerer. There's a divine soul sorcerer, which allows them to tap into like divine spells. They can cast something and whatnot, even though they're technically arcane casters. You know, whatever. Cool stuff. Their main stuff is going to be charisma. You know, that's their main stat, because everything, again, you know, is about personal self, or, you know, just, you know, personal power, like inner power. All right, their saves are going to be Constitution and Charisma. So again, Charisma you're not going to see too often as a saving throw, but Constitution is for poison, exhaustion, and it's what gives you hit points, and it's what enables you to concentrate on a spell. You know, so Constitution is always a good one to have. They're not great at hand-to-hand combat. They're not. You know, as far as weapons go, like there are like hand-to-hand spells that they would be fantastic at, but this class really isn't designed to stand toe-to-toe with people. It's just not, you know, they're just not good at it. I mean, they can be, you know, if they're smart and they have certain spells like blur or mirror image, things like that. But since they have a limited number of spells, you want to make sure that the spells you take are going to be the spells that you use and need, because you can only switch them out every so often. So they're proficient with daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and the light crossbow. You're probably never going to use them, you know, unless you can't cast a spell for whatever reason. Because with cantrips in this game, you can pretty much cast a spell every round, as long as you can speak or you can do whatever. And again, remember, they have meta magic, so they might be able to silent, you know, cast their spell without having to say anything, or, you know, stuff like that. Okay, warlocks. A wielder of magic that is derived from a bargain with an extraplanar entity. They're like clerics in the sense where they gain their power from something else, but instead of necessarily like worshipping the entity, they actually made some kind of deal. You know, like the quote-unquote classic make a deal with the devil. You know, sign a contract with some kind of devil or demon or whatever. That's what a warlock is. But they're not limited to being dark. You know, you don't have to make a deal with the devil. You know, you can make a deal with a unicorn, or you can make a deal with some powerful undead creature, or, you know, you can even make a pact without even knowing. You know, maybe you were chosen. Maybe you have these powers and you don't know why you have these powers. You know, maybe some kind of deal was made against your will. Maybe your family sacrificed you to this, you know, like let's say a classic, let's say a hag makes a deal with her family and it's like, hey, I want your firstborn. You know, I'll let you, like, you know, I'll protect your cottage and I'll make sure you come full term. You know, but I know you're having twins. I want one of those twins. You know, that could be a pet, you know, like a warlock. You know, I mean, it could be a lot of fun. It's up to you. You know, they get D8 hit points, which kind of puts them in the middle. They're not as weak as sorcerers or wizards. They're not as strong as the fighters. Right? Charisma is going to be their main stat, and it's the same deal, sense of self. You know, I would assume that somebody who's able to draw the attention and admiration or whatever of this entity, you know, it's probably going to be from a person who is a good talker, you know, or has a strong sense of self where, you know, they can sell themselves to these entities. You know, like, why would they pick you? You know, so a person with a high charisma probably has a much higher chance of, realistically making this pact happen. Ghost Rider, you know, he can be looked at as a warlock, you know, from the Marvel series. You know, Constantine, you know, he might be able to get looked at as a warlock, you know, in some kind of sense or whatever. You know, the movie Warlock, you know, that's a classic one or whatever. You know, that's more of a darker one. But, you know, you don't have to be that. There's a bunch of different, you know, entities that you can pick from. They're called patrons. And then what's really cool about the warlock is, I mean, even though they get a small number of spells to cast, they get them back at the end of every short rest. You know, I'll explain all that stuff, you know, later on, the difference between a short rest and a long rest. But at second level, they have this really cool thing called invocations, which they're the only class that gets it. And it'll give you some kind of special ability, like the ability to cast, you know, extra spells, to be able to see in darkness, even magical darkness, not being, you know, forced to go to sleep, or, you know, there's a bunch of different things. You know, some of them make their spells more powerful. You know, yeah, there's a bunch of different things, and, you know, they're going to be as unique as the person playing them. You can pick and choose whichever you want to make whatever. I'm getting an echo. Okay, never mind. It's gone. All right. Wisdom and charisma are going to be their saving throws. So wisdom would make sense because they have strong wills. So it's going to be difficult for things to take over them or control them. And then charisma again because of their strong sense of self. But that's not going to be seen too often. I know what I'm saying is said a lot over and over again, but remember, it's going to be about repetition. This game is, once you get the overall idea of what's going on, then okay, Cedric. Then things will just become like secondhand. Very easy. They get proficiency in light armors, and that's pretty much because they're not trained in combat. They're not like the fighters. And the thing is, most spellcasters have a hard time casting spells in heavy armor, unless it's divine magic. Clerics, for whatever reason, they go up around like a fully armored tank and cast their spells without a problem. Alright, and then they also get simple weapons. Now at 3rd level, they're going to choose a pact. There's a Pact of the Blade, there's a Pact of the Tome, and Pact of the Chain. Pact of the Blade, what that'll do is if you're trying to play a warlock that wants to be a little bit more versatile, like they want to do a little bit of melee combat and they want to be ranged, then Pact of the Blade is probably the way to go. And what that'll enable you to do is summon a weapon of your choice. Even something that you don't know how to use, like a greatsword or a scythe, or a big axe or whatever you want. Like if you want an anime type weapon, like something from Final Fantasy VII, like Cloud had that big ass sword. This is the class that's going to give it to you the easiest. As far as like cosmetics go, it can look like whatever you want. Right? But yeah, their biggest thing is like if anybody's familiar with Eldritch Blast, that's kind of like the running joke with warlocks, because the way the class was designed, it's hard not to pick that spell. Because a lot of the warlock's abilities are based on that spell, whether enhancing it or modifying it in some way. It kind of like pigeonholes you. It's a fantastic spell, but you don't have to pick it. You don't have to. There are plenty of other ways to build a very successful warlock without ever touching that spell, and it's actually kind of cool. Last but not least, the wizard. Everybody here knows what a wizard is. Merlin, Harry Potter, all that stuff. That's all wizards. Doctor Strange, things like that. All wizards. Classic. Okay, now the biggest difference between a sorcerer and a wizard is that a wizard, they have to study and learn their magic. A sorcerer is kind of like inborn. So it could be like an X-Men, a mutant. When they hit puberty, they just start developing these powers. That's a sorcerer. A wizard, they don't get any of that shit. All of their stuff, all of their knowledge comes from learning. So whether you wanted to learn your magic from an academy, like Harry Potter, or something more reclusive like Morgan Le Fay and Merlin, where you were taught by, a wizard hermit that lived in the middle of the woods somewhere. Either of those are options. If you wanted to play a more savage type wizard, like a shaman or a witch doctor, your spell book doesn't physically have to be a spell book. It could be a bunch of like runes on like little rocks, or it could be something that's carved into bones, or you can have a silk scarf and your spell book is like embroidered onto your silk scarf. It doesn't matter. That's all cosmetic. The end result is the same, where your spell book is what's needed in order for you to prepare your spells. Unlike a sorcerer who, they wake up and they get their magic abilities instantly, a wizard, they have to prepare their spells and they can't change anything unless they have their book. And it has to be their book specifically. If you find another wizard's spell book, you can't study from that book. What you would have to do is transcribe whatever information you find in there into your book, and then you can prepare it. Another great thing about wizards is they are the only class that has the ability called ritual casting, where they can cast any spell as a ritual as long as they know it. It doesn't have to be prepared. Other classes, they can cast things as a ritual as long as the spell is prepared. Wizards, they don't have to do that. So there's a lot of really cool spells like Alarm, or let's see, what else is there? I think Find Familiar. These are spells that you can cast anytime you want, as long as you have your spell book, and they don't take up any of your spell slots. Now, it takes an extra 10 minutes to do it, but other than that, you can do it all day. Right? So there you go. A scholarly magic user capable of manipulating the structures of reality. When you hit second level as a wizard, you're going to have to choose a school. Alright? Abjuration is protection magic. Conjuration is creating things that weren't there before, or summoning things. Enchanting is pretty much like manipulation and controlling people, and like mind manipulation, erasing memories, stuff like that. Necromancy is magic that deals with the undead or like dark energy. You have evocation or an invoker. Those are like your classic fireball wizards, the ones who like to blow things up. You have a blade singer, which normally they're limited to only elves, but no, you could be anything you want, and we'll work that out. But pretty much a blade singer is kind of like a combination of a fighter and a wizard. But they're still wizards. So like, if you want to run into combat, you got to fight with your brain, because if you just go toe to toe, as a wizard versus something, you're probably going to get your ass kicked. I know I'm missing some. Illusion, that's creating images, and another form of mind manipulation. Guess I should look them up. Oh, divination. Divination is really cool. It's about scrying and learning information or being able to see into the future. They have a really cool ability called Portent, where they get to kind of pick 2 die rolls per game day, to like affect the results without even rolling. I'll explain that if it ever comes up. And there are some other ones. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. There's a combat wizard in there, a couple other things. But those are pretty much all the different classes. Do any of these classes appeal to anybody?
Well, several I'm interested in.
I can't hear you. Hello?
Well, I might have rolled the bard, but I might have been spot on. I kind of like the bard.
Okay. Alright, so that's cool. So you're gonna go with the bard. I know we have a cleric. Who is the halfling rogue?
I can be anything else, of course.
Say again.
That was me. I wanted to be the rogue.
Okay. So, alright, so it's...
So there's 2 people left that kind of have to make a decision, which is either me and Loki, I think, or
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm just writing something down. Alright, so Lucy, we're gonna go with the bard. Scott, you're going with the rogue. Eric, and you're the cleric, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Alright.
I personally had 3 picks in mind, but
Say again?
I personally had 3 picks in mind. First being, I was quite interested in the ranger,
The ranger.
but if the party needs something that stays on the front line, then I might switch depending on the choices Loki makes. I can still change.
So if you can't hear anybody, you can right-click on their name, and there's a slider, and you can just adjust it on your end.
Yeah, user volume is 100%. Alright, so Eric E, you said ranger, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Dave, what are you interested in? Anything?
I think to help balance out the group, I will go with fighter.
Fighter? Okay. Now 5e, you don't have to. Like this game, the
Oh,
way it's
okay.
set up now, it's like seriously anybody could be anything, and the group will be fine because right now you have a cleric, which is fantastic. Rangers are really nice. Bards are fantastic. Rogues are really good. So if you wanted to go with a melee character, that's fine. If you wanted to play a sorcerer or a warlock or anything, that's fine too. And remember,
Okay.
we have a
Well,
person
then-
who's supposedly going to be joining us next week.
Okay. Well, then I will go with warlock then.
Okay, awesome.
For now. Yeah.
Because I don't mind either to go with like a paladin or a fighter either, so it needs to balance out the
I want
party a little
everybody to
bit.
play what they want to play. I think it's great that
Okay.
you're trying to look out for the balance of the group, but since we're gonna jump into this, I want you to love your character. And another thing is in a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, if you find you don't like your character, we can make you a new character on the spot. It's not that big of a deal. I understand that you might have a different vision in your mind of how it's actually gonna play out. then so don't even
Oh.
worry about it. This is all, we can all figure that out. What about races? Anybody have ideas on what types of races they're gonna play?
This stay as a halfling.
That's Scott, right?
I was going for like the elf, like wood elf.
Okay, what else for the ranger?
It seems to fit the because it felt the thematically it was fit.
Okay. Bard? What kind of dwarf are you gonna be? Do you know yet?
I don't know if I'm going for the dwarven part, but I guess I have no choice because I don't really know
you
about
can-
the
you
other
can change it.
races.
You can change it whatever you want. Like if you want it to be okay. Real quick, let me go over optimization, power gaming, munchkinism. All those different terms. They have bad connotations with them, but everybody enjoys the game differently, and it's not fair to expect somebody to play this game and not build a character that's going to be good at what they want to be good at. Okay? So, like for a bard, your main ability score is going to be charisma. Most of your character's abilities are going to be based on charisma. Dwarves, they don't get a charisma bonus. So let's just assume we're starting with standard array. I mean, we can roll or whatever. But if you went with standard array, the highest stat you're going to have in charisma is a 15. It's not bad, but it's not fantastic. It's not a 16, and it's definitely not a 17. So as far as like building your character as you hit higher levels, you're going to have chances to increase your ability score and your charisma as the game plays. But it's going to be more difficult for your character to focus on charisma because you didn't start off with that benefit. Now again, you can do it, and your character can be just as good as everybody else's. We're not competing with each other. We're all working together. So the thing is, if you don't want to play a dwarf, you don't have to. If you want to play something with a charisma bonus instead.
Yeah. I figured that much out on my own. I just need a few more minutes to look into it, and I'll let you know what race.
Yeah.
All right?
Take your time. No worries about it. Eric N. Your character's pretty much already done, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yep,
So we
just
gotta
create the
figure
character while you were talking.
out- Okay. Cool. So we'll figure out.
He's the variant.
Go ahead. And what feat did you take?
I'm sorry?
What feat
cut
did
out.
you take?
I'm guessing you cut out again. I'm guessing you're asking what feat I took?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes. Can you hear me or no?
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, but you cut out before you say something.
Oh, that's weird. Yes. Which feat?
Yeah, are you using push to talk or are you using voice activate?
No, it's always on. I don't have push to talk.
I'm sorry?
I don't have push to
Oh,
talk.
okay.
It's always on.
Yeah, what happens is Discord, sometimes it doesn't register you're talking until a quick microsecond before you actually are talking. So it'll cut off your first word or something. Feat magic initiate.
Magic initiate. Okay, cool.
Mm.
So human feat, magic initiate. Okay. So Lucy, while you're thinking about the races and stuff, and again, if you have any questions, please ask. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next step, which is your character backgrounds. Okay. Character backgrounds is pretty much gonna be a generalized description of what your character was before they started adventuring. Sometimes they're complementary. Like if you're going to be a wizard and you take the sage, those are complementary. If you're a barbarian and you take the outlander because you were raised as a nomad traveling throughout different terrains, that's kind of complementary. A fighter with a soldier background, that's complementary. A rogue with a criminal background, those things fit easily. It makes sense. But you're not limited to that. So if you wanted to be a fighter and you actually grew up working in a library, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe, instead of just being a standard brutish fighter, maybe your character, was into warfare or tactical stuff or siege, siege fighting, things like that. Or maybe they just, maybe they wanted to be a wizard, but they just weren't, they couldn't afford to go to an academy. So they kind of started doing that on their own, and then maybe later on, you can multi-class. Maybe you're a paladin and you have a criminal background. Who knows? Maybe you did something that you're not proud of, and you've now taken the oath and you're trying to turn your life around, and maybe your character's trying to do good to make up for the bad that they've done. Maybe you're a rogue and you have a noble background. And even though maybe you grew up around wealth and riches and privilege, you got bored of it. Maybe you like hanging out with the seedier side of town, or maybe you have a drug problem. Whatever the case may be, everything can be worked into your character as long as it's not disruptive to the group. Then anything can work. And the thing is, it'll help you make a more dynamic character. When we're all done with this, I don't want you to look at your character as just a piece of paper or something on a screen with a bunch of numbers. I want you to become your character. And it just makes the game a lot more easier. And it makes it a lot more fun, because like even after the session's over, if I did my job well, you'll be thinking about this game throughout the entire week and looking forward to the next session. And that's what I'm trying to do. So it helps if you help me make that happen. So as far as like the backgrounds, let's see. Let's see if we can pull these up. Okay, so backgrounds. Excuse me. Okay, now we're gonna actually, you know what? Let's go over alignments, because that came up first. All right, alignments. It's kind of a general description of how your character behaves on a general day-to-day. It's not written in stone, So a lawful good person, it says here, lawful good creatures can be counted on to do the right thing as expected by society. So generally speaking, you're going to follow the laws. You're going to be kind to other people. You're going to be helpful. Things like that. If you see somebody committing a crime, if you don't have the authority to do anything about it, maybe instead of getting involved, you might go get the guards. You were like, hey, I just saw this person steal a horse, or whatever, stuff like that. But the whole thing is, you believe that society is important. Society is important. You believe that rules and structure are important. And good is good. Everybody knows what good is. Everybody knows what evil is. Now you have neutral good. Actually, I'll skip that one. You have chaotic good. Chaotic good is going to be the opposite of lawful good. Chaotic pretty much means you don't really care for the laws. Whether they're good or bad is irrelevant. You feel that maybe laws might be too restrictive. Let's say you see somebody, a kid who's starving in the street. A chaotic good person who's poor. Maybe you'll steal a loaf of bread, and you'll give it to that kid because it's the right thing to do, even though it's breaking the law. So, chaotic good, their classic examples would be, people revolting against a tyrant or a corrupt law system. Robin Hood, he's kind of looked at as being chaotic good. He obviously did something that was unlawful, which was stealing, but he did it for a good reason. Okay, so same deal. Good, you want to help people. Law, follow society rules. Chaotic, you don't care about it because you don't need that in order to be good. Okay, neutral good, they kind of go in between. Alright, so their main focus is going to be doing the right thing. Okay, neutral good, they don't care about the laws necessarily, but they understand its place. They'll go around the laws if they need to, but they'll try and stay within them just to avoid any potential conflicts. If they're outside of an area that they know the law doesn't apply, then the good just kicks in. They still just want to do good. Maybe if they come across a bunch of bandits, instead of just killing them outright, even if the law says, hey, bandits can be killed on sight, a neutral good person might not necessarily want to do that. Maybe you might want to find out why they're bandits. Are they just stealing for personal whatever? Or maybe they have a bunch of families and they can't find work. So they're kind of doing it that way. So a neutral good person, again, same thing. Your main thing is going to be focused on good. You want to be a hero. You want to help people. Whether or not it's done lawfully, it doesn't matter to you. Okay? Lawful neutral. Individuals who act in accordance with law, tradition, or personal codes. Many monks and some wizards are lawful neutral. Okay. A lawful neutral person is probably, I think the best way to look at them would be looking at it as a lawyer. Okay? The lawyer understands the laws are there for a reason, and they will stick to the letter of the law to defend their client. Okay, a criminal lawyer is going to defend their client, even though they might have known they've done something bad. If they can find a loophole in the law, that'll get them off the hook. Okay. Slavery. If slavery is legal, then these people aren't going to care about it. Okay. You know, a chaotic good person, they probably won't like slavery, and they're probably going to go out of their way to make sure it stops. A lawful neutral person, they don't care. You know, tradition could be, you know, something like, you know, like think of a conservative mindset. You know, maybe your society doesn't like mixing different races. Okay, a lawful neutral person, what might stick to that? If the society is monotheistic, where, you know, there's only one God that's worshipped, a lawful good person probably is only going to worship what their society dictates. They don't care for good. They don't care for evil. They pretty much, they only care about society and society thriving, you know, by whatever means. As far as the personal codes go, you know, maybe your character, you know, they're part of an order and they have their own specific, you know, code or whatever. You know, maybe even a criminal like the mafia. You know, like let's say your character's part of a criminal family, you know, and they have their personal code where, you know, you don't shit where you sleep. You know, like you could have, you know, a war going on with a neighborhood or a neighboring, you know, section of the city, but, you know, and you'll do crazy things over there. But when you're in your town or your area of the city, you know, you uphold the law there. You know, you don't want crimes taking place on another house, but you might go rob somebody else. You know, so that's an example of a lawful neutral. As far as the neutral goes, in terms of good and evil, they are reactionary based on the circumstance. You know, so a lawful neutral might very well, you know, do something evil if it protects whatever it is that their beliefs are in. You know, okay, so true neutral is really hard to play because they don't care about law, they don't care about chaos, they don't care about good, they don't care about evil. You know, it's really, it's about balance, and it's really like the ultimate survival instinct. You know, most animals are neutral. You know, they just want to survive. You know, they look at killing as a means of, you know, providing sustenance for themselves and their family or their kids or, you know, their puppies, whatever, their babies. You know, neutral people, they don't necessarily get involved with big world conflicts because they don't care. You know, it's not until they're affected where they might react. So think of it as like, let's say there's a village. You know, they have a neighboring village and there's a forest fire that destroyed all their crops. A neutral person might not care. Be like, you know what? If they were smarter, they might have protected their crops better. You know, but at the same time, you know, if that forest fire destroyed a bunch of homes for the deer that they hunt to feed their families, they might go out of their way to start planting a bunch of more trees. That way, you know, the deer in the future have a place to call home so they can hunt. So I hope that kind of makes sense. But neutral, they're reactionary, very reactionary, and they don't really care about, you know, anything, you know, more than, I guess, survival. You know, for whatever means. I mean, they I don't know, they're very hard to play correctly. Chaotic neutral, this alignment gets a really bad rap, and it's usually or stereotypically played by people who don't want to commit to a character idea. They want to do whatever the hell they want, whenever they want, and not have to worry about it. That works fine if you're playing in a game by yourself and you don't have to worry about anybody else in the group. You know, chaotic neutral is like, you know, you follow your whims and you just do whatever you want whenever you want. You know, like, why would you decide to travel with this group and then maybe the next morning when you wake up, you're like, you know what, I don't want to travel with you guys anymore, and you just leave. That's chaotic neutral. You know, so I mean, I'm not going to say you can't play chaotic neutral, but just remember, this is a group game. This is a team game. We're going to be playing with each other for a long time. It's going to be easier for you and everybody else if you play or make a character who's willing to work with the group and wants to work with the group. All right. Lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. Lawful evil. Let's see. The devil is the classic example of lawful evil. Somebody who can uphold contracts, you know, and be good on their word and be dependable, but they're manipulative, they're selfish, and they're usually very intelligent, like very intelligent, you know. So like your mastermind criminals, a lot of politicians from a certain standpoint are considered lawful evil, you know. Crime bosses, you know, things like that. What they'll do is they're the ones who are able to skirt around the letter of the law for personal benefit. You know, yeah, that's pretty much that. Neutral evil, you're very selfish. You know, you're very self-driven, and you kind of, you know, I mean, you know, if you see a little kid starving in the street and that kid steals a piece of bread, you might take that piece of bread and eat it in front of that kid, you know, and be like, hey, you shouldn't steal, you know. You know, so I mean, it's neutral evil is another one, you know. So I mean, that's pretty hard to play within a group. It depends, you know. Like if you have a group that's been together for a long time and everybody knows how they play, you know, having evil characters within your group, it's usually not as bad. But at the risk of being called a gatekeeper, I want people to stay away from evil for this particular game. You know, once we get more familiar, you know, with the rules and, you know, the gameplay and stuff, if you want to switch out your character later on for whatever reason, we can explore that option. Okay? Chaotic evil is pretty much like the Joker. The Joker is a classic example of chaotic evil. It's just somebody who, you know, they're greedy, they're violent, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing, they just want to see the world burn. You know, and most of your big bad guys are going to be chaotic evil. The ones who are like less intelligent, you know, not that the Joker isn't intelligent, you know, but you know, just the random, you know, like Doomsday, you know, running around trying to destroy the planet or whatever, you know, that's chaotic evil. You know, I'm trying to think of other examples of things that just like Godzilla could be considered chaotic evil, you know, where it just wants to run around and just destroy things. So I mean, those are pretty much like the different ones. Okay. Anybody have questions on alignments?
No.
Each background, like I was explaining earlier, is going to kind of explain what your character was doing before they started adventuring. Each background is going to give proficiency in a couple of different skills, tools, or languages. It's going to give you some kind of benefit, and it's going to determine what type of equipment your character starts with. All right. You're also going to get starting equipment based on your class. Now, the cool thing about the backgrounds is that each one is also going to have like personality traits, flaws, bonds, and ideals. And these are going to help you flesh out your character's personality. Same deal with alignments and everything else. You know, some of the personalities work better with a group. Some of them don't. You know, like if you choose a personality trait where it's like my character doesn't trust anyone, it might be a problem, you know, because why would you choose to travel with the group? You know, if you don't trust anyone, then why would you travel with anybody? You know, the people who are like, well, I don't want to deal with people. Well, you know what? We're playing with other people. So, you know, try not to like pick like something that's going to be a lone wolf, or like an edgelord, or something that's going to be really difficult to integrate into the game with the other people. I mean, not only is it make it harder for me, but it makes people uncomfortable. It's like we're all trying to be friends here and play nice with each other. If you walk up to a stranger and you say hi, and they just like, whatever. What are you gonna do? You're gonna probably walk away from it. It's like, all right, whatever. So when you're choosing your background and stuff, just keep the group in mind. Like, you can play whatever background you want, or into your story. Or like when you're picking your trait patch. Try to keep the group in mind. Not each individual character, but just in general, that you're playing with other people, and you want to play something that's going to be an asset to the group. It's almost 3 o'clock. So let's see. What I want to do. Is everybody cool with taking like a quick 10-15 minute break?
Sure.
Sounds great.
Yep,
Okay.
sounds good.
All right, cool. So we'll meet back up here at 3:05. All right, and then right after that, we're gonna jump right into character creation. Okay. So start thinking about what you want to do, and yeah, I'm gonna take you through it step by step. All right. See you guys.
Sounds good.
Vague creatures? No, not really. I haven't even seen anything. Are you? Were you hired by the estate here?
What were you?
Was I? Well, the estate is mine.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you were? Okay. Well, pleasure to meet you. You know, and
Nice to meet you also.
she waves her hand like kind of she keeps it close to her body. You know, she's like, I'm Cassidy Elena Elidor. Welcome to the preserve, and thank you for trying to help me find these eggs.
You're welcome. My name is Dara Afronis.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. And she does like a slight bow with her head.
I return the bow. My party is over on the other side of those trees, and we've been trying to retrieve the eggs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. That's great. Just just be careful. Some of these trees are, they can be a little dangerous, and most of the animals and stuff, if you don't bother them or you don't get too close, they won't bother you. They're not like really harmful or anything like that. But that's great. What eggs do you have so far? How many have you found so far?
Well, we haven't been here that long. We've only managed to retrieve 2 of them so far.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, it's a large area. It does take some time. But yeah, just feel free, poke around, and that's great. Thank you again so much. This sucks as a sidebar. I forgot to hit the record button, so we lost like the first half of the session. All the market role playing, whatever. I mean, the people who watch live, whoever's there, will see it, but whatever, it happens. Okay.
Can I do an insight check just to make sure I trust what she's saying?
Yeah, go for it.
Meanwhile, I want to do the Arcana check to use Mage Hand to grab the eggs one by one over here.
Dara. Okay. All right, go ahead and make your check. Okay. You're trying to move the Mage Hand through, and you bump into a couple of low-lying branches, sending those, that like pink pollen into the air. But you do manage to grab a single egg, and you're starting to retrieve that. Yeah.
I'll keep doing that until there are no more eggs left.
Okay. Let me get 2 more checks there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So you were able to grab a second one, and the third one, it takes a little bit of finessing, but over the course of, let's say, in between 5 and 10 minutes, you're able to retrieve those eggs. Yeah.
If it's been that long, my detect poison is gone.
Okay. Alright, so she's there. She's just like, idle chit-chatting with Daryl, unless you want to say anything or do anything specific.
Well, I want to ask her why are you here alone? Do you usually come here alone?
Oh, I come here all the time alone. I love walking through the area at nighttime. It's so beautiful and peaceful here. And my family, we've had this, preserve for a while now, and it's safe. I love it. I like spending a lot of time by the fountain over there, and like feeding the birds and the squirrels.
Yes, there are lots of marvelous creatures.
Yeah, so she kind of like steps aside a little bit, and she sees, everybody over there, and she's like, "Oh my God, those flowers are beautiful. Where did you get those?" And she like kind of like excitedly starts walking over,
Yeah, I'm back.
Welcome back. I'm back as well.
I'm here as well.
Just started storming over here. Where's everybody? I'm in sunny Florida. Where's everybody?
Everybody's kung fu fighting.
If my mic wasn't muted.
I can hear you.
Yeah, is everybody here from in the U.S. or do they have people in different countries?
Netherlands.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
for me, it's 9 p.m.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I played with a bunch of people over in the Netherlands before. It seems that 1 p.m. Pacific time over there for D&D.
Exactly.
4 or 5
The
hours
time
ahead.
zone means it starts 7 p.m. for us here. So it's
Okay, yeah.
perfect for the weekend.
Good. Yeah, it's a good slot.
How late it's for you? Is like in the morning?
It's 3:04 p.m. over here on the East Coast of the USA.
Okay.
Alright, I'm back. Eric, did you need me for character creation? Or do you think we'll be starting like playing today, or is it just like pure S0, like going over character creation and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, after the characters are created, I wanted to run through a quick combat simulation, just so people can get
Oh,
familiar
okay.
with their character sheets and whatnot. If you feel you're familiar with Roll20 and you don't want to stay
Yes,
around,
very.
then you don't need to. You can bounce it for a while. That's fine.
Okay. When next week would it be session 1?
Yes.
100% or?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because even we have.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, we have one person who couldn't show today, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and run a session 0 with them sometime throughout the week, and then next Saturday we're gonna actually begin the campaign.
Okay, great. Sounds good. I guess you'll just message me through Discord, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, assume.
How do you coordinate stuff?
Yeah, I mean, assume next weekend. The game is gonna start. If there's any changes or any notes or whatever, something will be mentioned in Discord. I'll go over your character sheet, and if anything needs to be changed or whatever, I'll just send you a message, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, cool. And I know the goal here still was to get as many spells as I could as a cleric.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's where you go.
I think I have all my spells good to go, prepped and everything. So.
Did you just drag and drop them across?
For the most part, I know Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade weren't in the. What is it? Yeah. Yep. So I just filled that in, but everything else was drag and drop pretty easily. The only thing that I need to do is, of course, like know my ASIs or my ability scores, and then that correlates to my health points. But other than that, then I'm all built and ready to go.
Okay. I mean, because the first thing we're gonna do is figure out how we're gonna determine scores. So, I mean, do you want to stick around for that? Because if we roll, then we can roll, or I mean, we could do it anytime. It's up to you. What do you want?
If you just message me on Discord, what the rules are, then I could just do that. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
And if it's like standard array, no problem. I'll just plug it in.
Okay. Sounds wonderful.
Is there any preference you have?
Okay. So it depends on how it's rolled. Is it like 46 drop the lowest?
Yes. It'll be 46, drop the lowest.
Get it.
Yeah. And how many times?
6.
Like 6 or 7 times?
6.
I'm sorry? You have to...
6.
Eric?
6.
I have to say this is
6.
confusing to hear
Okay.
my name sometimes.
Yeah. You can just call me like Edward or something. Okay, so 6. Yeah, I honestly, dude, I usually prefer like non-standard array. So, but that's just my opinion. I don't really mind.
So you're both.
It really doesn't matter too much.
I'd rather roll as well.
Yeah, I think it's fun to roll, and also it's like it's not like hardcore like 2D like 2E where it's like 3d6 down the middle. You know, don't drop anything. You know, like it's like the odds of you like having like really bad scores that are like worse than standard array are like pretty small, and honestly, it's 5e. It's like a really forgiving kind of edition, so it doesn't really. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much, to be honest.
What I'll do
Unless
is-
you have like
So you prefer-
unless you have like 6 8s or something, and that's a little much. But
Well, what I'll do is if all your modifiers equal negative collectively, then I'll have to reroll.
yeah, yeah, I would think so. That'd be awful.
Yeah, but I mean, my own.
Yeah.
So that's when your character died before it even started?
Yeah. Well, actually, there is a way for you. I don't know if you're aware of this, Eric. There was in Unearthed Arcana with a mystic. I think there's some way for your character to actually die in character creation. It was something like that.
That's
It's kind of
silly.
funny. Like you could like sacrifice health or con or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't like the UA. That's
Hey.
all. That's all like
Yeah.
playtest material and.
Yeah.
It's like
Um,
food, so.
But yeah, I would much rather roll. But I mean, it's really I really don't mind. My build is gonna happen regardless. So
I'll tell you what.
it's
I'll
not
tell you
that big
what.
of a deal.
Before you leave, right? Why don't you do your rolls right now and just whisper them to me? And the thing is, if we go with standard array, then we go with standard array. But I have your vote down for rolling, and I think somebody else said that too. So that's automatically 2 out of 5. So if we get one more vote for rolling,
Okay.
then your rolls are gonna stick. So, yeah. So on the left side, you know where it is, the D20. Just
Yep.
hit 2 GM, so they're whispered, and then just do the 46.
I'm actually
What?
just gonna
Not
roll
even
you. I'm just gonna roll you a macro. Is that okay?
I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. But do it, but whisper it though. I don't want anybody seeing anybody else's stats.
Yep. Yeah.
What?
Well, if I roll all 18s, then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, definitely." Go with the rolls.
I mean,
No, that's
we're
a standard array. That's gonna get to an OP guy, right?
Scott P has got to go in 40 minutes.
Uh,
anyway, so okay, all right, no worries. Yeah, so go ahead and roll up your stats now. Whisper them, and then is everybody here?
I am.
Okay, cool. So while everybody's here, real quick, do you want to roll stats or do you want to go with standard array?
Oh, I'm a gambler.
Even though my epic rolls are epic, I'm gonna go for the rolls.
Okay, so that's
I'm fine either way,
I know that's
so.
at least 3 rolls right there. So we're gonna roll stats. All right, the way everybody rolls stats, if you do not know already, on the left
Yeah, it's
hand
not
side,
bad.
a building scores test. Oh, you rolled them all together.
Yeah, it's you don't do that. All right,
Okay.
that's not bad. I mean, I
well, it's a test.
average.
So, I mean,
16.
it's not
Starting
gonna
off at
count.
16.
So if you wanna,
Oh,
it says
you
test.
don't want me to?
If you want to,
What?
just roll whenever you're ready. But you know, just let me know. You can't say test
Oh, why not?
because it's a test. Don't count.
You can test the waters.
No. I was just testing it because I was just seeing if I could like whisper GM. But since everybody said that they want to roll, I just rolled publicly. I mean, I can roll again if you want, but
Oh no, keep those. That's fine. You can start off with
Okay.
18.
well, V human, so it's gonna be 17 unfortunately.
Yeah, so go ahead and plug those in. Everybody else, roll. Oh, what's that? What do you say?
I can whisper it Discord. Actually, I'll just post it in chat, so if that's
Yeah,
okay.
that way everybody-
So you literally just type this, or well, I wouldn't suggest typing it. Copy and paste into your chat bar. You can just hit it.
And everybody will be able to roll the same way.
In the chat bar?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There you go. Hey, David, 17. That's fantastic.
Nice. Okay, awesome.
You're definitely getting the 18 at the start, which is great.
Oh,
Oh
there we
my
go.
God,
Shit.
Scott!
Oh,
I feel like
Look at
that's.
that.
Oh my God, that's
Scott
really
P,
good. That's
High five.
really good, Scott.
strongest halfling in the world. Nice.
Eric, that's a really good score too. Jesus.
Nice.
At least he got his 18.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad that I got like the worst scores, I think, and that's good. That's okay.
I've got
Okay.
everything like on the middle and then that
Yeah.
18.
That's beautiful.
Lucy could technically start with a 20 and a stat if she wanted to.
Nice. Yeah, you can have.
yeah,
it.
Eric? Yeah, this is crazy. This is really good.
So I tell you what.
What's green and what's red? The
green is
So-
a
negative, I
negative
think.
modifier.
oh, negative to your
No, so-
proficiency.
So what happens is when this rolls in chat, it's gonna roll 46 and then take away the lowest. Okay, in the macro, and so it doesn't matter. Like the green just means that one of those numbers that you rolled of the 46 was a 6, was max,
Oh, cool.
right?
Okay.
And like the red means that you rolled a 1 for one of those rolls.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't matter.
All right.
These are really good scores, by the way,
Yeah,
guys.
they are,
Like
yeah.
really good.
Across
Like
the board.
yeah, like it's quite good.
Scott's gonna be the superhero. Can you do me a favor? Just
Yeah.
type in that macro and put it in parentheses so I can see it.
So, are we using the character manager, by the way, or do
Say
you
again.
You,
add a thing directly?
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Me or other Eric?
Yeah, Eric.
Okay. Are we using the character manager or the editing the sheet directly?
We're gonna use the character manager. It's gonna be a lot easier for you.
Okay.
Yeah, starting off. Because it's all multiple choice.
I would say though, DM, I would say though that I think the character mancer it only has like the stock, which
it
only
it
offers
has,
like I think
it
the
has
backlight
PHB.
background.
Well, it has the PHB and it should have Xanathars.
Oh, okay.
It should. I mean, does it just say the Outlander on yours?
I just built mine directly,
Right, okay.
but I wouldn't know.
All right. So
I think I tried to start. But...
Okay. All right. So everybody else, except for Cedric, I guess just plug in your stats. Whatever. Everybody, go to your journal, which is going to look like a folded newspaper kind of deal on the top right corner. If you click on that, you should see your name next to an icon of a blue person, kind of. All right. Everybody, go ahead and just click on that to open up your character sheet whenever you get a chance. Okay, it's going to ask you for the character mancer. You want to hit yes on that. And then this is literally going to take you step by step on how to build a character. Excuse me.
Eric, is there any way you could reset mine? Because I went in and I did not click on the character manager.
Okay.
Now everything's kind of blank.
I got a new character that just dropped into here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
If you want to reset your character mancer, you just click on your character sheet and you'll see the gear next to spells. So it's core, bio, spells, and then the gear. You see that?
I'm sorry, forgive me, I don't see that.
No worries. So, yeah, so if you click on your character, you're going to go to character sheet tab.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Okay, and then on the top right, you're going to see core, bio, spells, and then the gear.
Yeah, I don't have.
Did you see that?
I don't have that. What I have is like. Let me check here.
Hold on, which one is this?
Yeah. So you see your character name at the top left on your character sheet. So look to your right, and there's like class and level, background, race, alignment, experience points.
The top right corner of your main sheet.
Yeah.
Hold on, which?
I'm sorry.
Which character is this? What we're talking about?
Mine. So what I did was what I'm seeing is NPC options. So I have bio and info tab, character sheet tab, and then attributes and abilities tab.
Okay,
Does that sound familiar?
Who is this? I'm sorry. Is it
David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so bio, character sheet. Okay, if you click character sheet. Oh. NPC options.
Yeah, mine does not look like that at all.
I'm gonna add you in the character sheet.
Wow, I cannot believe this roll, Scott. Like everybody. Wow.
Okay, Open up D2.
And if it
Yeah. So, okay. So now I see use the character mancer. Is that correct? Sorry, Eric. If you said anything, I couldn't hear you after
No,
that.
yeah. Use the character mancer. Yes.
Okay.
grounds to choose from.
So if I buy like a book, for example, on Roll20, does it mean it just all those classes and feats get added to the character list? Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I mean, we're gonna get more stuff later on, but right now, I mean, all the classes are there because those are in the PHB. The only thing that's gonna be extra are there might be some
Yeah, the
races,
subclasses.
there might be some backgrounds, there might be some subclasses. It depends on the book, but eventually we're gonna get all that here. You know, so okay, so let's see. All right, so if we go to character sheet, use the character mancer. The first thing that's gonna pop up here, you know, it's gonna give you a quick like introduction or whatever. You're gonna hit the next button, okay? And then the first thing, you're gonna ignore the stuff on top where it says strength, dexterity, con, whatever. First thing I want you to do is pick your race. Okay. After you wind up picking your race, if you have a sub race, it's gonna ask you to pick that as well. And then it'll explain like some of the different things that you do. First sheet, you're also gonna pick your race. Okay, if you want to play a hero type character, you know, going good is easy. If you want to play somebody who might be more of just a general adventurer, treasure seeker, you know, mercenary, stuff like that, neutrals are probably the way to go. If you want to play somebody who's just going to be selfish, then evil's going to be there. I'd rather you not do that, but you can do whatever you want.
I'm gonna be heading out here soon. Do you want me to go over my character really quickly with the group just to give people an idea of?
Don't even worry about it. I'll check you out, you know, to make sure everything's good. I'm assuming, yeah, like you don't have any of your personality traits filled out.
No.
Yeah, none of your features or traits are in there. You do proficiency.
I don't really think I get anything as a level 1. We're starting at level 1, right?
Yeah, you're a cleric, so you're gonna get all your domains.
I mean, there's not much. I guess I can put it in, but it's just proficiency in Arcana and like 2 cantrips, and I already have that on my sheet.
Yeah. I want you to throw those in. Just do it throughout the week whenever you get a chance. Also, you're gonna put your feat, your magic initiate, put that in there with the spells that you get from that.
Yep. All my spells are uploaded. I put in my bio on the second page. Additional features is the magic initiate feat.
Okay. All right. Put it where it says. Put it on the front sheet. That way, you know, if we ever need to pull it up, you can click it and it'll show up in chat. For your bio page, you know, age, size, height, you know, height, weight, eyes, skin color, hair color. If you can write in a physical description, keep it simple. Just something that would be read out loud to everybody else. If you want to create a short backstory, I'll put it in the game if you want it. You know, if you don't want to create a backstory, that's fine. You know.
Yeah, I went ahead and wrote up a quick background, like really quick, like 30-second background on my bio and info. If you want to look at that.
This is for Cedric.
Anything can be changed, names can be changed, whatever. So.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just copy that over to the bio page whenever you get a chance. But yeah, just do that whenever. What I'll do is I'll put all the other tabs on here for advantage. Let's see. Go to the star. What are the stars for? It's blue. See that?
I'm sorry?
On your character sheet, I see like some of your stats are blue.
Yeah, so I put in my original stats without any racial bumps or anything. And then on the gear, on the attribute options, you can add pluses or minuses to your stats. This is generally useful for like let's say your character gets reincarnated or like by some sort of magical means they lose their racial bonuses or something.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of features I still don't All right, yeah.
I had a character reincarnated, and it was a mess because I had no clue where like I got my step bumps and stuff.
Right,
So
okay. All right. So yeah, just fill out that stuff whenever you get the chance. Yeah, the personality traits and everything. You know, that way I don't have to ask questions. I can just look at your sheet whenever and see what's going on. Just
no
makes it
worries.
easier. And then your token.
Background, there's not.
All right, your character background is different from your character's history. The background is what's going to give you a couple of extra.
But the background,
Go ahead.
when you try to choose background, all I get is accolade.
Really?
It says custom or accolade, and that's it.
Oh shit. Okay.
I believe you have to activate it. I think you have to activate it or
Yeah,
something.
give me 1 second. I might have shared the compendiums in this game for whatever reason. I'll do that right now. I'm so sorry about that.
Alright guys, lunch is here. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next
See
week.
you later.
Thanks.
See you, man. See you next week.
Bye bye.
All right, I'll be here. Let me. That's really weird. I was wondering why nobody was seeing stuff. Okay, it makes sense now. Where is it? Game settings.
Ah!
What the? What was that?
Phone.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through and change a few of these settings, but the compendiums should be there now. So you should have more backgrounds. Let me know if you do not see anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of them now.
They're all
I
in there?
don't have it.
All
right, then try
you need
reload.
to
Have
probably
is-
reload the background tab.
Yeah, try.
Just go to a different tab and then back.
Nope, nothing. Just start over.
What about reloading the page? Just reload Roll20 altogether.
I was wondering why I couldn't choose perception, but it's a skilled proficiency that comes from my race. Here I was thinking, I'm doing something wrong. As favorite enemy, is there like something I should choose specifically, or should I just go what I think is like fits with the story or something from my
Well, I mean, you can
backstory?
pick something. Like if there's something in mind that you want, I'll make sure you see it in the game. You know, but otherwise, this game is gonna be. I mean, this particular campaign. I know there's like goblins, there's hobgoblins, you know, wolves. There's some. It's like classic D&D, so there's gonna be, you know,
Bit of
couple
everything.
like the staples or whatever. But if there's something you want to see, you know, if you want aberrations, you know, and then you know, I'll try and throw them in. And again, I mean, this campaign, I mean, this adventure, we're gonna get a few months out of it, you know, and then you know, if you guys want to continue doing a different campaign afterwards, you know, then we can start building something more customized for everybody who's playing instead of just running, you know, a pre-made adventure.
Okay. Yeah, because I see like things like humanoid races you can choose to, or you can choose
so if
like
you pick humanoids, then you
fiends
can
or
take,
giants.
like, you know, goblins and orcs, or you can take elves and you know whatever.
Okay.
So did those options pop up? The new options now?
Yep.
Did yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good, good. So I'm so sorry about that. I took care of it. Can't believe Scott's got those awesome stats. Wow. This is the kind
I know,
The
right?
newbie. I'm gonna get killed in the first 10 minutes.
This is
We'll
the
be
kind-
all in the back cheering. Hey, go! You can do that alone.
This is the kind of thing where, like, if
The
you
dragon swallows me whole.
if you were to post this in the D&D group on Facebook, everybody would be like, "You're full of shit."
Okay, DM. I found a race that I'm interested in that might work with all the story in my mind. And it is the Tabaxi.
Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. I love them. I don't have those in the compendium. I don't think I do. So you're just gonna have to copy and paste everything over from whatever source you're using, or type it in. But I'm okay with that. Tabaxi,
I look
Yeah,
at
I'm
all the
just-
books.
they're fantastic rates. They're a lot of fun. You know, their extra speed is fantastic. Their clones are great. The climb speed is a great. I love Tabaxi.
Yeah, and they have exactly the bonus for the skills of the bard and also the background because the wanderer and so on and so forth. Minstrel, they can be. So I thought it would be nice.
Very cool. Yeah, I made a Tabaxi bard. It was the cat and the fiddle. It worked out really well.
Cute.
That's actually my icon, that cat actually, above my name, that was my Tabaxi.
Oh wow.
It was like a main theme.
Yeah, mine is just a former feral cat that kind of moonlights as a monkey. As all cats do, of course. I've got here like custom race features. Is there anything in particular I should type here?
No, you can leave that blank for now, and then just add the stuff from the Tabaxi afterwards.
Alright. So just to be sure that I got this right. So these ability score increase is just that... yeah, I've got that. Sorry. Alignment, size, speed, and then the proficiencies, which in this case would be perception and stealth.
That's from your rates, right?
If you're saying something right now, we're not hearing you.
No.
Well, I know Lucy was saying something. She's sitting behind me.
Oh, you're both in the same place.
Yes, we live together.
So, in this second page for the skill proficiencies, because in the previous page, in previous tab, whatever, I chose the stealth and perception, but I can't choose them again here. Is that it?
Correct. Yeah, once you get proficiency in something, you have it. You know, having.
All right, so I don't choose anything here.
Well, no, it'll give you. You're gonna get some. You're gonna get proficiencies based on your race, and then you're gonna get proficiencies based on your class.
Ah, right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So the thing is, like, instead of, if something kind of forces you to pick something twice, we'll ignore that, and we'll just let you pick something else in those places.
I got it now. Thanks.
Did anybody get the thunder?
Not
Yeah.
that one.
Where you at? Where do you live?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, all right. Okay, we're having a thunderstorm up here too, and I'm in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. My brother's up in Boston.
No shit, we're in Boston.
I'm not sure. Actually, I
Oh,
don't even know
okay.
if it's Boston.
Fair enough.
It might be just out of Boston, but close enough.
When you say Massachusetts, everyone goes, "Oh, Boston."
I know it's close to Boston because he got a job there. He was working. What's it been like up there? Like weather-wise?
It's been really warm, but it's New England, so I think compared to Florida, we bitch and moan about 90, 92 degrees.
It's almost a daily over here sometimes. Especially in
Exactly. That's why.
What got you interested in movie? You don't want to say you played a long time ago,
That
or? Say again?
I must have missed your question. My wife had called me.
Oh no, so I said, what got you into D&D?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. You talking to me?
No, I just really looking forward to RPG, and I used to do it on a mill sim on the PC games,
Right. Okay.
and a very bottlenecked. You can only do so much,
Right.
and this kind of just is perfect. It's like real sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part, I mean, like we're gonna, we're following this adventure as closely as possible, but I'm comfortable enough to go sandbox. So if you guys wanna, get off the path and do some adventuring that has nothing to do with this, we'll be fine with that. I don't like railroading people. It's not like my story. It's choose your own adventure. Whatever you guys do, you do, and we'll deal with it as it comes. It'll be a lot of fun. Anybody have any questions yet?
I do.
Yeah, what's up? Talk to me.
What do you think would be the best skills to choose as a class? What do you think would be useful?
Well, you're going bard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Bards, they're gonna excel at their social skills. Perception. Not perception. Persuasion, performance, deception, intimidation. You're already gonna be good at those because of your high charisma score. In 5e, everybody can pretty much do.
Yeah, I
anything.
chose acrobatics as well,
Acrobatics is good.
just in case.
Yeah, acrobatics is good. Okay, so let's run through all those skills. Athletics, that's gonna be climbing, running, jumping, exerting, physical stuff. Endurance. Kind of things like that. Or whatever. And then you have acrobatics, which is gonna be tightrope walking. If you want to do like flips. If you're trying to tumble somewhere, run between somebody's legs, run across difficult ground, avoid tripping, stuff like that. Sleight of hand is going to be like, pickpocketing, different things. There's actually a thing in here for all the rules. In the rules or whatever, they actually talk about the ability scores. I'll read them all as everybody's making their characters, so they can kind of get an idea of what's going on. So ability checks. Okay. Alright, so dexterity, we have acrobatics, which I explained, sleight of hand. That's going to be, sleight of hand, picking pockets, being sneaky with your hand, maybe trying to open something quietly, things like that. Stealth is pretty much, moving around in shadows, being unseen, moving quietly, trying to sneak up on things or away from things. And you have intelligence. Arcana is going to be magical knowledge. History is going to be history. So let's say you're traveling somewhere and I give a description. You might say, has my character ever heard about this place? Or, do I know anything about this? I might say, all right, let me get a history check. Then you're going to roll a d20, add your intelligence, plus your proficiency modifier if you are proficient. And then depending on what you get, will determine what type of information I give you. Investigation is deducing information based on evidence. So let's say a perception, a successful perception roll tells you there's something about the floor over there that looks weird. All right. Now, when you get up to it and start examining it, I'm gonna probably ask for an investigation check. Depending on how you roll, again, same deal, that'll give you the information. I might say you see a tile that looks, slightly higher than all the other ones around it. It might be something that, triggers a trap. Or, I might say something like, you see a couple of holes, like on the floor around this plate, and you're thinking that maybe spikes might shoot out of it or fire. So investigation is going to be, deducing information based on evidence. Nature, that's going to be your character's familiarity with nature. If you want to identify plants, if you want to, let's say you see a snake, it's like, hey, I know what the snake is venomous. I might say, give me a nature check. Are these mushrooms edible? is that poison ivy? Things like that. Hey, we need to find water. Can I find any plants around here that let me know that there's going to be water close by? Things like that. So that's going to be nature. Religion is pretty much just theology. So your character's familiarity with religion, religious customs and traditions, practices, different things like that. You might come across, let's say you're exploring an old dungeon, and you find a medallion and there's a symbol, it looks like a broken skull. You might say, have I seen this before, or do I know what this is? I might say, let me roll, let me get a religion check. And same deal, depending on what you get, that's going to determine your information. I might say, you've seen something like this before, but the name is slipping your mind. You just know that the people who bore the symbol were not known for doing good things. Or or I might say this symbol belongs to, the goddess of light, whatever. But intelligence, that's all going to be like information stuff. Your wisdom skills. Now real quick, you can attempt something even if you're not proficient. So even if your character is not proficient in athletics, you still might be able to swim. Even
I
if
think.
your character is not proficient.
I hope so.
Well, yeah.
I think Piggy is leaving.
He said he had to leave.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I actually got to leave.
Okay, not a worry. Not a worry. So,
Can I save this? Is this my character now, or?
Yeah. This is your character. So everything is gonna be. So your character sheet is up there. So what you could do is throughout the week, whenever you get some free time, just keep coming at it. And add a little bit here and there. But
I'll get right in it. The bio, I'll do the bio. What's attributes and abilities? Is that something you do, like global save, global attack, version?
Yeah. Don't even worry about that last sheet. I'm gonna take care of all that. Just do the character master and go step by step. And if there's anything that's not done, what I'll do is I'm gonna look at all the sheets throughout the week and stuff. I'll just send you a message on Discord. And I'll just let you know what needs to be done. All right. What's all
That's
this
split,
stuff?
guys. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, no problem. All right, have fun. Be safe
Thank you
out
as
there,
well.
and we'll see you soon. Okay.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye bye.
Okay. Okay. So going back to the wisdom abilities, animal handling. It's exactly what it says. It's going to be your character's. It's going to determine whether or not your character can successfully tame the wild bear that you've come across on the middle of the road. It's going to determine whether or not you can, let's say you're riding a horse and you get spooked. This is going to determine whether or not you can keep your animal calm. So animal handling, it's just, dealing with animals. It's going to be your ability to possibly train a dog. Maybe you want to have a dog that travels with you. Insight is your character's ability. It's like a gut feeling, kind of. It's your character's ability to read other people. So let's say you approach a town, and you don't know anybody, and you come across somebody in the street, and it's like, hey, look, I'm new in town, I need to find somebody who can fix my armor. Can you point me in the right direction? And then they'll give you some information, and maybe you just get a feeling that this person's bullshitting, So you might be like, hey, I don't, do they seem like they're being sneaky? Like, what's going on? I might say, give me an insight check. Depending on how you roll, that'll determine the information that you get. I might say, well, this person seems really hard to read. You're not really. Maybe it's just because you're in a different land. You don't understand it. Or I might say this guy is giving you a bad feeling. Or I might say, this woman seems completely genuine and honest. She wants to help you. Whatever it might be. Insight can also be used. Like if you as a player, you're lost. You're like, shit, I don't know what to do right now. Or maybe you guys are in a trap and you can't figure out the puzzle, or whatever the case may be. You might say, look, man, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what to do. Can you give me a clue? I might say, let me get an insight check. Same deal, depending on how you roll, I might give you information. Let's say there's a trap, and you're stuck in it and it's being filled with water. You roll an insight check. I might say, well, You know, this thing obviously have a shut. You know, it has to have a shut-off valve or a drain somewhere. You know, it's up to you to find it. Then you might be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna start looking for that. You know, and then I might say, okay, you know, let me get a perception check. So, you know, so insight can be played. I mean, can be used, you know, for a bunch of different things. And again, all of these descriptions are here in the compendium. So anytime you have any questions or whatever, you know, if you don't want to ask me directly, hop in that compendium, see if you can find it on your own. And if you can't, I'll help you out. You know, if you can, you could be like, well, it says this here. You know, how are we going to use this or whatever? And then I'll probably say, well, just go by the book, which is raw. Or I might say, well, okay, let's try it this way. All right. Medicine.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, medicine is gonna be your character's ability to kind of like fix broken people. You know, you can, let's say there's somebody that you find unconscious. You know, you might run up to him and say, "Is he alive?" And you'll be like, "Well, what are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, I'm gonna go and check and see if they have a pulse." Okay, let me get a medicine check. You know, depending on how you roll, same deal as everything else. It'll determine what type of information. You know, if you roll like really bad or whatever, I might say it's hard to find a pulse. You can't find a pulse, or you know, you can't. You know, if you roll really high or something, I might say you feel a pulse, but it's really faint. You know, you don't have much time left before they die. You know, then you might say, okay, I want to try and stabilize them. Okay, let me get a medicine check. You know, so that you know, and then whether or not you succeed will depend on your roll. Medicine can also be used to identify the conditions of certain people. You know, like, you know, is this person poisoned? You know, has this person been drained by like magic, or you know, whatever the case may be. Medicine's gonna determine, you know, your character's ability to examine someone medically. Perception is pretty much gonna deal with your senses. Sight, you know, hearing, smell, touch, all that stuff. It's probably one of the most used skills in the entire game because it's you know, it's the eyes and ears of your character. You also have what's called a passive perception, and that's going to be the default difficulty level of anything that's trying to hide from you, or you know, something to that effect. So like, you know, let's say you're all traveling throughout the woods. I give a description, you know, stuff like that. I might say, all right, everybody, let me get a perception check. Everybody in the group rolls, and then I'll give everybody different information based on how they roll. Or I might just say something like generalized. For everybody who rolled a 15 or better, you can hear a faint howling in the distance. You know, for anybody who rolled, you know, a 20 or higher, you know that sound is less than 200 feet away. You know, so I mean, that's gonna pretty much, you know, it's the eyes and ears of the game. You can, you know, let's say you taste something. You know, I might say, let me get a perception check. You know, and I say, you know, after you drink it, you know, I can say, this thing tastes funny. There's something different in here. Now you might use investigation to determine what that is. You might use nature to determine what that is. You might use medicine to determine what that is. You know, it's going to depend on what you want to do. So the thing is, a lot of these skills can be used interchangeably. And it's pretty much going to depend on what your character is doing exactly. You know, sometimes I'll give an option. You know, I'll be like, okay, let me get a nature or a medicine check, whichever is better for you. And then you look at your character sheet and say, okay, well, my character's better at medicine, so I'll use that one. You know, then we have survival. Survival deals with finding food and water, being able to make yourself like a natural shelter, tracking, pretty much anything that deals with survival. You know, if you want to be able to figure out which way is north, that's going to probably be a survival check. You know, if you want to know whether or not this water source is safe, that might be a survival check. You know, what were you going to say?
It felt like something that will be fits with the ranger I was choosing my skills.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because
then I went with insight, survival. Perception is already for my race, so I didn't have to choose that.
Okay.
So I went with probably with stealth. It felt like it made some sense to being
you know, if you
a
want
ranger.
to go hunting and you want to sneak up on that deer or that rabbit or whatever, or you want to hide from the wolf that's hunting you. You know, really good. Sneaking around.
Okay.
Depends on how you want to build your character. If you want to be more like a, like let's say a military ranger or a scout or something like that.
Okay.
Right, moving on to charisma. Deception is your ability to fool somebody else. Whether you're just straight out lying or you're trying to, do some kind of innuendo or manipulate somebody. Deception is probably going to be the skill that's used for that. Intimidation is going to be your ability to scare somebody or maybe coerce them into doing something that they might not want to do. So let's say somebody in the group has got captured by the guards for, I don't know, a petty. And the thing is, you want to break them out or you want to get them out. You don't have enough money to bail them out. You might go and find, sneak into the guard's place, the prison cell. You might find the guard, and you can't beat them for whatever reason. They just seem too tough. But you might try and scare them. You might say, hey, look, if we don't let my buddy out now, he has important, powerful friends. They're not going to be happy with you. I might say, let me get an intimidation check. The thing with the charisma scores, I prefer for them to be rolled. I don't want you necessarily to just say I try and intimidate him or I try and intimidate them, because I'm going to ask you how. How do you do it? What do you say? It's kind of like the same thing with all the other skills, like for animal handling. Try not to say, hey, I want to use my animal handling skill. Describe what you're doing. There's a wolf. I pull out, a piece of dried beef. And I try and, I whisper to it, like, just come on, buddy. Hey, I'm your friend. Role play. It's a role-playing game. Get into your character. It makes it a lot better. It's just more fun. All right. So that's intimidation. Performance. Whether you're acting, maybe you want to see this. Let's say you're trying to mimic somebody else's voice, like you want to pretend to be somebody specifically. That might cross over. That might be deception or performance. It depends. Performance is going to be like dancing. It's going to be singing or acting or whatever it is, that you're trying to do. Let's say there's a, let's say you're in a camp, and there's there's a small orc army coming, and that the whole camp has to, you have to work together. So maybe the bard might come and say, try and get everybody together, and try and inspire everybody, and tell them like a good speech. It's like, we're gonna stand and fight, and some of us may fall, but it is not this day. I'm gonna do whatever you're gonna do, and that's gonna be a performance. The thing is, the more you get into it, I might want to give you advantage or disadvantage on something, and I'll explain. So that's pretty much gonna be performance. Persuasion is you're trying to persuade somebody to do something. Now, the example before with the guard, when intimidation was picked, that's obviously a form of persuasion, but that's going to fall more on intimidation. Persuasion might be something more along the lines of, hey, look, let my buddy out. We got some money, maybe we could trade, something like that. That's going to be persuasion. Now, if you roll low, they might say, bribery is a crime, and they could bring you in for that. So it could lead to a good or bad thing. At that point, you might try and intimidate them. You might be like, well, if you try and bring me in, then you're gonna piss off and then I might ask for an intimidation check or deception. You could say, well, you did good. I'm actually a new hiring from the guards here, and I came in here to test your motives. That might be deception. So it's really gonna depend on how you want to react to it. It's going to be times when you feel pressure, because this game, even though it's just a game, it can get pretty immersive. Like realism can, it can shine with the right. So that's going to be persuasion. Pretty much trying to convince somebody to do something without scaring them. Something like that. Like if you, let's say you need your armor fixed, and you don't have too much money, you might roll persuasion. Be like, hey, look, can I pay you next week? or maybe we can work something out. Maybe you can let me work for you for a couple of days in exchange. That's going to be persuasion. Obviously, the more charismatic somebody is, the more likely somebody's going to be willing to deal with them on their terms. The lower the charisma, it's going to be difficult, but it might be possible. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Now you're going to have languages. Your languages are automatic. You can automatically read and write them without any rolls. Something I might require some kind of general intelligence roll or something if in really rare occasions. Like let's say you speak Draconic and you find something that's like ancient Draconic. I might say, let me get a general intelligence check, and then depending on how you roll, I'll let you know. But like, look, this is definitely Draconic, but it seems to be like a dialect you're not familiar with. You can kind of pick this out, you can pick this out, but some things remain a mystery to you. Now, okay, advantage and disadvantage. Whenever you roll advantage, you get to roll 2d20 instead of 1d20, and you take the highest skill roll or the higher number. That's going to be an option on your character sheet that I'm going to show everybody how to enable. If you get disadvantage on something, that means it's really difficult, and you're going to roll 2d20 and then take the lower number that's rolled. So let's say, and this applies to any d20 roll. So whether it's a saving throw, an attack roll, a skill check, whatever it's going to be, you're going to roll the 2d20, take the lower number or higher number, and then add your modifier. Yeah, so that's pretty much advantage and disadvantage. Okay, now passive checks. Passive checks are things that you don't necessarily have to roll for. And the way you figure out that number is you take 10, then you add your ability modifier, and then you add your proficiency modifier. So passive perception is something that's going to come up a lot. But it can be used for anything. If you just want to go around the town, being sneaky, instead of me having you roll stealth every 15 feet, I could just say, okay, what's your passive stealth? You tell me 15, 16. It's like, all right, that's good enough for you to generally get around without being seen or noticed. And then for specific situations, then I might start having you roll versus like their opposed perception or, whatever's trying to find you. That's pretty much all the skill checks. How's everybody's character coming along?
Oh, I'm stuck with the cantrips.
Stuck with the cantrips? Okay, no worries. If you go to the compendium, right?
Yeah, I'm just there's so many of them, so it's kind of hard to choose when you have too much to choose from.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. If you want, if you type in spells or whatever, you can go to Bard Spells by level, right? And then it'll help you narrow things.
Well, I have that list.
Generally speaking, whenever you're choosing cantrips or spells in general, you usually want one attack, one defense, and then the rest are kind of like utility or whatever you want. Vicious Mockery.
Yeah, that's the problem. I just have to read through all of them to see what.
That's fine. Vicious Mockery is a really good bard spell. The damage it does really isn't that much, but what happens is if your target fails its saving throw, they get disadvantage on their next attack. So it's really great, especially if you're fighting like one big bad creature. So
No, it actually reading it makes perfectly sense because you unleash a string of insults laced with subtle enchantments.
Yeah, it's
it
great.
Matches my character actually.
Alright, that's perfect. Yeah, throw some sass out there, and the same thing. I might ask you, what do you say? As far as spellcasting goes and stuff like that, if you really want to get into it and describe what you're saying, that's great.
Yeah, with the insults, I'm gonna keep it for your imagination, but yeah,
it's up to
it depends.
You could say something like, you smell like a wet dog, or, you have tiny hands. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, F-bombs and, stuff like that.
I know.
So, I mean, whatever you're comfortable.
So, Eric, I've completed mine if you want to take a look at it. Loken. Oh, okay. Okay.
Which patron? Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I'll probably.
You know, like maybe explain your background. Like why did you come?
Okay. Yeah. Is that something I can work on this weekend? And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since you know, it's up to you. You know, I mean, if you don't want to do it, we don't have to. But if you do it, then we'll join the game.
Okay. Sure.
You know, willingly, you know, were you coerced into it? Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, everything looks good. We're gonna have to work on that discovery of yours. Okay.
What's that?
I guess based on history.
Okay. Well, I'll give that backstory some thought and probably populate that later on.
Yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, it's up to you. You know, all right. So
Yeah, it'll
what
be
we need
neat.
to do now for you is find you a picture. Hop on Google whenever you get the chance.
Okay.
Right. Go to Google Images. You know, try and find something that'll represent your character. Then, in order to make it, you know, save that picture. And then, in order to make
Okay.
it as a link in Discord right now. But you can make your token there. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna grab the picture. No, you go to that website and you're gonna grab your picture and drag it over, and then you can choose your border, choose different colors, do all different kinds of stuff. And then once you get that token,
Okay.
and we'll set it up as a dark vision and everything like that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Slowly
still-
progressing.
All right. Well, I will work on this, and I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. But looking forward to seeing and then working or playing with all of you next weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Same here.
Yeah.
I guess we're probably not going to do the combat simulation this weekend. I guess maybe we could do that right before we start.
Okay.
But that's cool. So, yeah, if you have any questions, send me a message through Discord, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you here next week.
All right. Sounds great. It's been fun. Thanks.
Bye
See you later.
bye.
So what's inside a Dungeoneering spec or an Explorer spec?
Say again? Did you say Dungeoneer versus Explorer's pack?
Yeah, what's the difference between those two?
The equipment that it gives. If you go to the compendium, hit the I, and then type in pack, it's going to show the Dungeoneer's pack, it's going to show the Explorer's pack. If you click on those, it'll tell you everything that comes in it. Right? It tells you the weight, all of that
Okay.
stuff. And then whenever you're ready to pick the one that you want, all you have to do is drag that right over to the main sheet of your character sheet, and it'll populate it for you.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm kind of looking at selecting
They're
them
pretty
didn't show
comparable.
anything.
Yeah, they're pretty comparable. I want to say the Explorer pack is probably geared a little bit more towards above ground exploration, and the Dungeoneers pack, it kind of gives, it puts you down for like, ruins and underground stuff. But both of them have a lot of equipment that cross over.
Oh, yeah, I see. At least they have torches, but
Alright, now, both of you have dark vision. So, what dark vision does, I'll explain lighting and stuff too. What we're going to do is each session, as we come up with different things, I'll probably stop whatever's happening in the game and give a quick explanation of how it applies right then and there. But dark vision, you'll be able to see in dark, what happens is you go from dark to dim to bright. And those are the different types of lighting. So dark lighting, without dark vision, is just black. You're considered blind. If you have dark vision, it becomes dim light. And what that does is you see everything in black and white, or black and gray, or whatever. And it'll give you disadvantage on certain things, like perception. And then you have bright light, which is like daylight, which is normal vision. But it all gets reflected on the actual map. So when you're looking at the screen, if you have dark vision, it'll, your vision will be limited. Like whatever you see on the screen is what your character sees. It's a really cool feature.
so what I see is like Dungeoneering gets like a hammer, a crowbar, and pythons, I guess, to climb.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Explorer's
Yeah,
pack
those are
gets you get a mess kit set, which allows you to cook, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
it's gonna
have
give
some cooking
little
equipment
bowl
with you?
and cup and, utensils. I guess it just depends on whether or not you want to. I mean, you can always use one of those spikes to cook something.
Use that 50 feet of rope to make some fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to fray it up and use it for some like tinder or something, kindling, that's fine.
In a sense, both packs sounds useful in their own way, so...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're very similar. So, I mean, like the crowbar, that's going to help you with, prying things open, stuck doors, old tools, coffins.
Yeah, but I have thief tools as well, so...
Yeah.
I guess that'd be more like the silent way to open doors unless it needs to be forced.
Well,
And then I'll just give it to someone with high strength.
Like actual locks, So, I mean, like if there's a treasure chest
That's true.
and there's a lock, you can use your thieves tools to try and pick that lock. Or you could just use your crowbar.
Have you
and try
played
and
God
find
of War, the new one?
Say again?
You played the recent God of War?
God of
Just
War?
kick the chest open.
Oh, yeah, there's all different types of ways to do it. I'm playing in a different game and I'm playing a monk. And all I do is I take a running start and I do a flying kick. Hopefully the door opens.
That's one way to open them.
Yeah, because we don't have a rogue in the party, so.
Well, we do, right?
Yeah, and this one.
Believe.
This group is actually really well. We have some melee, we have some range, we have some wilderness, we have arcane magic, we have. So, I think we got a pretty decent mix.
I must say, it might be pretty scary to be the rogue, because I don't think we got that many frontliners, do we?
Let's see, the cleric is probably going to be a frontliner, even though they're arcane. See, the problem is when there's not a designated frontline fighter, somebody's forced to become the frontline fighter because the monster will come to you. So
Yeah.
you just have to adjust your tactics.
That's true.
Accordingly.
Because in a sense, I could make a dual-wielding ranger, or just sort of a melee ranger as well. Or
Whatever you
instead
want.
become an
I mean,
archery-based ranger.
You have the capabilities to do both.
I know, right? That's The hard part is just like having like 6 different characters in your head already.
Yeah, they're very versatile. I love Rangers. I love them a lot. I mean, I think they're a lot of fun. They're very self-sufficient. Great asset to any party. And you're probably going to be the one who helps people find the treasure. You know, so if you come across a bitch and, you know, after you wind up defeating it, you know, you're probably going to be the one who tracks it down and finds them. And hopefully finds them.
Guess I need that crowbar.
It wouldn't hurt.
Makes sense to give my character more like an actual name that's elvish.
Yeah, there's if you jump on Google, there's fantasy name generators if you have a hard time, you know, coming up with something.
No, I just get into the bio tab and it's like Eric E character name that this unless there was an Eric elf back in the day.
You gotta figure out something with the mic because you stepped out.
Yeah, I heard that. I have multiple headsets, so I'll put another one on later. I'm kind of been using this one more recently, but it seems I haven't really tweaked Discord in a while since I changed headsets, so I will check out for the next session.
I mean, it's not horrible. You get drowned out by some of the other players. You feel like you're being talked.
Yeah, that's probably. That's what I understood also from someone else that's sitting behind me, that I turned soft if someone else was talking.
I'm gonna refresh my drink. I will be right back. Give me like 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. back.
You're welcome back.
So, all right. So Eric and Lucy, are you the only two here right now?
Correct. The others left already, but looks good.
All right. It looks like I finished something.
All right, sweet. Let me take a look. Let's see, 9 pebbles. Is that you?
Yeah. I might change those bagpipes. That's just for the fun of it.
Okay. Well, you're gonna get
Because
super
it's quite
confused.
heavy for my backpack, considering my lack of strength.
Right, okay. You get. Well, you have the dulcimer, the lyre, and the lute.
Yeah, dulcimer for itself is already quite a big thing, but the bagpipes was just like something like for a gag. It's fell in love with the instrument because it's so out of character, out of everything.
Careful with a low roll. Maybe you might pop that bag by accident with the club. That would be funny though.
True, but that.
Alright, let's see.
Just use the bag of the bagpipe as a pouch when I'm not using it.
Sew it back up. Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. So the front page. You look in. Oh, metric. Okay.
Ah, yeah, sorry, Europe, you know. I thought of it when I was filling it in, thinking, okay, I'll just mention its meters and kilos.
Yeah, no worries. What's a kilo? It's like 2.2 pounds, and a meter's 40 inches. Is that correct?
That's a very good question.
All right, no worry. Google will help us with that. All right. On your bio page, if you can, throw in a quick physical, like where it says character appearance. If you could just throw in a basic, description, maybe something.
You know what? I didn't go far. It's basically that picture I have there, but in a humanoid form of my cat.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So then the next step for you would be to hop on Google and find the picture that's going to represent your character. If you could find
What kind of picture?
just something on Google, if you could find something that's going to represent your character, so if you could find a tabaxi that looks.
Does it have to be?
That would help. Otherwise, I guess we can use your cat picture. You're just gonna have to make a token on it. And what I did for the.
I was thinking about it. I've got other cat pictures, but let me see.
Yeah, whatever you have. But if you go to the Discord page, I posted a site where it says token stamp 2. Whatever picture you find, you're gonna drag it over to that page after you open it, and then the upper left corner, you can choose different borders and stuff so you can
Just anywhere you actually kind of write like a backstory or something.
if you can, yeah, just something real simple that kind of, maybe explains a little bit about your character or why they're adventuring. Doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Don't worry about like names of locations either. We can always fill those in later on. So instead of saying Waterdeep, you can just say, I'm from a coastal city or whatever.
Okay.
For the spells, Lucy, you see your Bane spell. It has a C on it. Do you see that C on the right side?
Probably not. Give me a second. I know it was a bit confusing with the spells. I just went with my gut, which is probably not a good thing. But yeah, it doesn't have a C.
You have 3 spells. Okay. Okay. The V, the S, and the M. That stands for verbal, somatic, or material component. A verbal component means you have to speak in order for you to cast the spell.
Yeah.
The somatic component means you have to have like a free hand. You got a gesture or something?
All right.
Hold on one second. Okay. And then the M stands for material component. The spell will specify exactly what's needed in order to cast the spell. Now, as a bard, you can use your musical instrument as your material component, unless the material component has a specified value, or it says that it gets expended in the actual spell. So, for example, let's say the main spell. Pull this up. It's going to be in the main chat. When that comes up, it's one action for your casting time, range of 30 feet. Target up to 3 creatures of your choice you can see within range. Okay, and then the components are VSM. All right, so the M for this is a drop of blood. Now,
I see.
Now, instead of using a drop of blood, you can use your instrument instead. You could just play a quick tune.
Oh, cool.
Hit that bagpipe, and that will be the equivalent of your drop of blood. Or you can just take your claw and poke yourself in the finger, and you can get your drop of blood from there. You can use a spell focus, right? Which you probably check your equipment. Because I think since you can use your instrument, you probably don't. Okay, yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
a focus or a component pouch. So your instrument is going to be, it's going to cover all of your spell material components, unless there's, like if it said 50 gold pieces worth of blood, then it wouldn't work. You'd actually have to go buy the components somewhere. Okay, now for Bane, that's C. It means it's a concentration spell. What that means is, like, if you look at the spell that I pulled up for you in the chat, for the duration, it says concentration up to 1 minute. You can cast other spells while you're concentrating on a spell. Okay?
Yeah, so I can't really do anything else. And I have to make a roll to save something, right?
Well, yeah. If you have a concentration spell up, you can cast other spells. Okay?
Yeah, but because a lot of is happening, I might have to save. Sorry about my non-proficiency in this, but if a lot is happening, I might have to see if I keep my concentration, right?
Right. Not necessarily if a lot is happening. It's mainly if you take damage. Like if something hits you,
I see.
You have to make a concentration check. Or, if there's an environmental situation like this, there's a big sandstorm that you guys are trapped in, and all the sand is hitting you and it's stinging your skin. I might say make a concentration check. But other than that, you can keep casting other spells while you're concentrating on the spell. So you can cast Bane, and while you're concentrating on that, the next round you can cast Vicious Mockery, or you can cast Earth Tremor, or you can do whatever you want, just as long as it's not another concentration check. Also, if you're gonna ready a spell, which we'll get into in next time, that requires concentration, and that will cancel whatever spell you currently are concentrating on. But I'll let you know beforehand, because it sucks when you make a mistake like that, and it's because you just don't know. So, don't worry about it. Now, if you go to complicated languages, alright, I'm gonna pull that one. Same thing. It has VSM, and the component is a pinch of soot and salt. You don't have to have that as long as you have an instrument.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the thing is, there's an R on that spell. That means it's a ritual spell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means as long as you have this, actually you don't need, it's automatically prepared because you're a bard. So the thing is, you can either cast this spell using one action and use a spell slot, or you can spend 10 minutes casting this spell, and it won't take anything long.
I see.
Yeah, so if let's say you're traveling, through a dungeon, and you guys find a room, and there's a bunch of strange books, and nobody can understand what's being said. You can say, hey, I can read this stuff if you guys give me some time, and then you can spend 10 minutes, cast the spell, and then we'll go by whatever it says. So that spell you can cast.
I thought it just made sense with this wanderer kind of tabaxi background.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's a fantastic spell. Long Strider is really cool, especially if you need to get away from something or jump.
Exactly.
And then Earth Tremor is just a decent, all around.
Yeah, I went for Earth Tremor because for the background, Nine Pebbles is from the Soaring Mountain clan, hence our Nine Pebbles. So I thought that would be connected to her origins.
I like that. I like that a lot. There you go.
Yeah, that's mostly the. I thought of the spells as in life experience,
Right.
so to say, what she could have learned on the way or as a child.
That works. I'm changing a couple of things on your sheet. I'll explain it all after.
Yeah, for some reason I'm carrying 2 lyres.
Okay, we'll fix that. You might have gotten one for free from your background and one from your class.
Yeah, I noticed some of them overlapped, which was really strange.
Okay, if there's an overlap, then you get to just pick something else. You know, that's equivalent.
I think the perception, I get it from several places, so it was kind of like red saying that.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, it probably had you pick something else in the thing.
Okay, I can't find a tabaxi with a sling. For some reason, I thought the sling with the distance made more sense for me.
No, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't have to. You know, we're pretty much gonna kind of like take the torso and the face. You know, and crop out the rest. But you know, it's just a representation of your character. That way, we know where you are on the map. I only see one there. Or one line. And it weighs 2 pounds. But yeah, your character looks good to go.
So how do I do it with a picture?
Okay, when you open up the site, you're gonna take that picture that was saved. You know, it's easy if you just start on a desktop and then drag it over to the web page. And then you'll be able to change the border and like the color and stuff. And then the token will appear in like a lighter brown box on the right side of the page. Then you would just right click that and save that somewhere.
So I just drag it into the chat.
Where it says drag image here to start for the token stamp too. Is that where you are?
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
How do I get there?
All right. If you go to Discord, there's a link that I just posted that says token stamp 2. Click on that, and the page will open up where you can make your token. There's gonna be a thing right in the middle that says drag image.
I see.
Start.
Oh, okay. Let me play around a little bit with that. I got a nice image, but it's showing like a dagger and a rapier.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can, you know, zoom in or zoom out and crop out whatever you want. If you click on the ring in the upper left corner, it's going to give you options for different like borders. If you go to the like, you know, coffee color where it says border tint, if you click on that, you can choose a different color for your border and just find something that you like. It'll show a sample of it on the right side, and just right click on that and save it to your desktop, and then I'll walk you through the next one after the next step. Eric E. Are you Nepo? Nepo?
Sorry?
Are you there?
Your sound, your voice cuts off every now and then, so it's kind of like blank in the middle.
No, I'm asking you if Eric is there.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Are you Nepo? Nepo?
Nepo? No, I'm Night Breeze.
Oh, Varus. Okay.
I'm called Varus Night Breeze. Didn't know everything was immediately permanently set the moment I clicked on apply changes, but guess it's a done deal now.
It's really awesome. Scott.
Okay.
All right, your character
Well,
is
Lucy
already
dropped an 18 in there.
your character is already encumbered.
Is it?
Yeah, so you failed the hunting trap. The same as 25 pounds. Let's take a look and see what's going on.
That's a hell of a heavy trap.
That's a bear trap or what?
It's the sound of it.
A dragon trap.
Oh. I came to this place to start dragon hunting.
No baby steps. We'll get there.
Oh, the idea was I chose my favorite enemy, a bit also to go with my bond.
Your favorite enemy, did you put that on the second sheet? Or is that on the first sheet somewhere? Oh, okay. I see it there. Alright, good deal. Yeah, it's cool. We can
I will
make up a
write
cool
the
story.
bio part later.
Yeah. It could be anything, you know, maybe, you know, there was, I don't know if you're from a small town or a big city or whatever, but maybe they were cultists, you know, and they wound up, you found like an underground temple or a shrine, you know, and they wound up summoning some evil creature and laid waste to the town and they went to escape. I don't know, whatever you want. Play with it.
Exactly. Oh, I have a little bit of time to write a backstory,
Yeah.
and I'll leak it to you when I'm done.
So sorry, what do I do with the... How do I get the token out of this? Token stamp.
Okay. Alright, you're gonna see your finished token like on the right side of it. On the
Yeah.
on the right side of that page. You want to right click on that and then save that to your desktop.
Alright.
Alright, once you do that, open up your character sheet and hit the edit button. And then just to upload for the corner. Just click that, find your token. Put itself in there and then just hit save. See it on the top right, what's on edit?
Well, I think I did it.
Alright, let's take a look. Alright, awesome. Yep, you are. Okay. So then what we'll do... Okay, so now you have that. I'm going to drag your character onto the sheet.
So I do need to then to write the text.
Alright, so now I have you on the main sheet. If you... Well, look, whenever you're ready, let me know. Take it to the next step.
Well, if it is to write the text, I can write it during the week. So
Well, no, it's not even that. Alright, your character... Can you click on your character on the main page? You see it?
yes.
Okay. If you click on that, there are going to be 3 little those circles that appear above it. A red one, a green one, and a blue one. All right.
Yes.
What I need you to do is in the red one, I want you to put your armor class. Okay. In the green one, I want you to put your hit points. In the blue one, I want you to put your passive perception. Now, and you can either grab your character from the journal, the way you have been this whole time, or you can just click on it, right? And then if you hold Control and then double tap, your character sheet, you know, somethings will pop up, and then it'll say bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. Do you see that in there?
Not really. Give me a moment. I'm still stuck in armor class.
Okay.
Where do I see that armor class?
It's gonna be on your character sheet. So if you open up your character sheet, it's gonna be like in the middle towards the top on the main page. So like you see where it says like there's a red button that says normal. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
If you go down just a little bit and to the left,
I see it.
you'll see armor class 14.
Yes.
Okay. So you're gonna put that in the red one. For your hit points, you're gonna put 10. And then your passive perception, you're gonna put a 13.
And the blue one? 13?
That goes in the blue one, yes.
Yep.
All right, after you put those numbers in each box, you gotta hit enter. Otherwise, it doesn't stay.
Oh.
So, I'm sorry about that. I should have said something.
Oh, it makes sense now. Yay!
All right, ready to rock. All right, cool. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up your dark vision. You have 60 feet dark vision as it's a maximum, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I have your dark vision set up. And what I'll do is I'm gonna make this character to your sheet. You should be good to go. So now every time you take your character and drag it onto any board, all this information should be saved. So I'm going to drag you over.
I see.
So go ahead and drag your character. I deleted your character from the main thing. Go ahead and drag it over whenever you get a chance back onto the board. And I want to make sure that everything's
Alright.
Did you drag your character sheet out from the journal? Yeah, it's working. Yeah, so yeah, if you go back to your journal and then you go to your character and click it and just drag it over.
But why is it so big?
That's really weird. When I do it, it comes fine. I will figure it out.
Should have just got rid of the hunting trap.
Well,
I mean,
well,
if you want to sell it, I'll give you 5 gold pieces.
Possibly.
Yeah, it only costs 5
Because
gold pieces, so
I don't like the idea of starting the campaign like walking slowly.
yeah, it's alright. You're the ranger. You're supposed to be.
I ain't
fast.
carrying you.
You're going for that 18 in strength and use your flute to hit people and your guitar.
I'm just gonna bleed their ears to death with my bagpipe.
Alright, so Paris, you get your token out. Pretty cool. You can change the color of the border if you want. You know, because that's the default color.
Yeah, I noticed.
But,
I know. I will
it's up to you.
mess with that around later.
I think it looks cool with the brown kind of tone.
Yeah, I like that. It's very woodsy. Alright, if you click on your character, 3 circles are going to appear above it. Red and green and blue. In the red, I need you to put your character's armor class. AC. In the green, I need you to put your character's hit points. In the blue, I need you to put your character's
11. The green was hit points, right?
And you're half health, right? Oh, you're a widow, so you're gonna get dark vision.
And blue was.
Passive perception. After each number, you have to hit enter, otherwise it won't stay.
So. Press on the green part.
Yeah, if you click on your token, the 3 circles that are above it. The first one, if you click on the red.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I was clicking on the green part.
That's really weird. that
I
your
was clicking on the
characters-
color.
Oh, okay. That's so
Ah,
weird.
there's a huge icon showing up.
That's so weird though that it's weird.
Oh shit, what is this? What size is this? Giant?
It's a giant cat.
Alright, I might have made something wrong with creating the token. That's my crit fail.
No, it should be
I'll
okay.
create a new one.
No, don't even worry about it. Because the thing, what's weird is when I do it, it comes across fine. So I'm not sure where you're grabbing your. Are you going into the journal, clicking your character, then dragging it onto the board? Cause see, I did it and it came out.
Yes.
That's so weird because I did it and it comes out fine. So.
Yeah, I'm just bigger than the universe. Ah, but he also has a different size.
Yeah, his came out big too.
I guess.
Well, I didn't link his yet, so. 'Cause it doesn't
I
have-
think because I had to enhance the image I had to just focus on the face, it might have. You know what? I'm just going to use the same picture that I have here on my profile. I'm going to make a new token, right?
If you want.
So I made green one as 11, which is my current hit points.
Because your token works on my screen. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Eric? I'm
I also have a small token right there now.
What's your character's armor class, Eric?
I went for leather armor because I had to choose in skill or leather. I think leather fits more as medium armor, I think, isn't it? Or
That's a light armor. I mean, that's fine. But
Or
what's
is
your
it
character's
light
armor
armor?
class? If you open up your character
Oh,
sheet on
that's
the
right.
right hand side, I mean, not the right hand side, you're gonna see a button that says normal. That's red. If you go directly south of that and then move a little to the left, you're gonna see your armor class and a shield. Those are the names.
oh, 14 armor class. I see AC.
All right, cool. And then what's your
So
passive?
that's red.
Yeah. What's your passive perception? On the left side of the character sheet, you're gonna see all your skills. If you go just beneath that,
So
it'll
that
say
would be
passive
5?
perception. Let's say 15.
Oh, there, 15. Oh, the wisdom, right? Passive wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna link your character to your token. Yeah, so, alright, do me a favor. Just go into your library
So,
and,
library?
your journal where it has your character
Oh.
name. Just, if you hover over
Yeah.
your name, it turns light blue. Click it and drag it onto the board. See what happens. Okay, yeah, yours
Yep.
came out fine.
Works perfectly.
Lucy, try the same thing. If you go to your journal, hover over your name so it turns blue, left click and hold it, and then drag it onto the board. See if the right token comes out this time.
She's reloading. 20.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yep, works fine. So if I buy, let's say, books in Roll20, does it mean I just get more stuff to choose from in a, let's say, ever make a new character or something? Or
Yeah. The only
instead of
thing that's
custom, I can
bad.
just edit?
Well, I mean, you can edit everything manually, and the thing is, it only really helps in the very beginning, like with the character master, because everything after first level you're gonna have to manually add anyway. Um, Buying more books, the only thing that's bad is you can't share them unless you're actually like unless you're the DM and you create your own game. That's the only way you can share the books.
I see.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be just for you. And even if you're playing in the same house, with Lucy or whatever, she's not going to be able to see your stuff unless she purchases them. So, what I would recommend
that's
is that
weird.
if you two are going to play together a lot, buy the physical book. If you're going to buy anything.
Oh, we have all the physical books.
Okay. Yeah, so don't even worry about
We were
it.
missing it out the physical box today.
Okay.
So we have the Guide to Ravnica, Dungeon Master, Monster Manual, the Sword Coast. She's currently sitting there with the player handbook and which one is it? The Senator's Guide to Everything, and another one, Sword Coast, I think. Or
Okay, cool.
do you even
Yeah,
know
so-
anymore?
so, yeah,
Oh no,
you-
that's the Mordecai.
All right, yeah. So you have more than
We got a lot of them.
I mean, I have all the physical books and stuff like that, and I'm slowly. I mean, it just makes it a little bit more convenient to have the stuff readily available. But if you have the hardcover books, then you don't need it. I mean, it's up to you.
Because at first when I was checking out the what's it, backgrounds,
Yeah.
I was originally thinking of choosing the Urban Bounty Hunter from the
Okay.
Sword Coast,
Yeah.
but
That's a good one.
felt like the Outlander fit more with the as well, so it's kind of like choosing between those two. I found it quite difficult.
Yeah.
And then
Well, Outlander's
things
pretty
like
good. I
like the
Bounty Hunter
equipment
because it
thingy.
gives you, I think, thieves tools. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's also kind of fit with like me wanting to have this idea of having like my home country destroyed and hunting people as a bounty hunter, chasing after them one by one to take down the people that. This is kind of what I wanted to do.
You can do that.
I didn't realize applying. Okay. Because I was applied the changes and instantly did everything. So like, hup, okay, you're done.
Oh, I see what you did. Okay. Sorry about that. I really thought I had this stuff up front. Okay, so are you guys pretty much done? I think you guys are done, right?
Yeah, pretty much done. Unless I actually want to change something, would mean I probably have to create a character again. But I think this is fine.
Well, no, you can do it manually. I mean, everything can be edited manually. It might be a lot easier just to delete. I mean, it depends on how much you want to change. Sometimes it's easier to start.
Yeah, but for me it would just be the background probably. That's about it.
Oh, okay, then that's just do it manually. I think it'll be a lot faster for you.
Okay.
especially
And
if
selling
you're
things
finding-
like the staff, which is or the hunting crab, it wouldn't be necessary, I guess, at that point because it comes with the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, like the trap because it weighs so much. I don't mind, giving you the 5 gold for it if you really want. But all the rest of the stuff, I mean, it kind of just comes with it. Use it if you can. If not, maybe somebody in the group, else in the group can use it. You're gonna find plenty of trade.
Yeah, but if I were to change my background, then those things would be disappearing anyway, because they came from the Outlander background.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
I mean, you got plenty of time to think about it. I mean, do it over the week or whatever. But since it's almost 5 o'clock, and there's only 2, I think that we should save the combat simulation for maybe early next week.
Next time.
Before we actually start the game. It won't take long, because I'm just
I
gonna
agree.
show you how the maps work and the dark vision. Yeah, I'll show you real quick. I'll switch out.
Because, for example, in the urban bounty hunter background, there's this part of equipment where you have a set of clothes appropriate to your duties and a pouch of gold, I guess, 20 gold. You can't really add that customly, or do you have to do it afterwards when your sheet is finished? Just add it like in the sheet here.
Should be able to add, everything is looking at Alright, if you zoom out on your screen should be black now. Is it black for both of you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see on the lower part of the black box a yellow ring?
At the bottom.
You see that?
Yes.
Okay. I won't both of you to take your characters and drag them as close to this wall as possible. Alright, so both of you, if you zoom out, you can kind of see things.
I do. Let's see. I guess 1.5 goblin, or I think it is.
Alright, so
And a cage.
Okay. The
I see a very suspicious guy next to me.
Right. Okay. You see the dim area that's right around your characters?
Yeah, the
That-
light
that's
light
pretty-
dim.
That's your dark vision kicking in.
Okay.
Okay, so let's assume let's just
All
I
right.
would give a description like you're traveling through the woods. It's the evening, and you're on a rough trail, and up in the distance, kind of north, maybe a little to the west, you can see some light coming from a fire, and you see a couple of small humanoids hanging out next to it, and they're just chatting, and they seem to be eating something, and they don't seem to know you're there. At that point, I'll probably say, "What do you want to do?" And then each person will literally describe what their characters are going to do. Each of the boxes represents 5 feet of movement. So the tabaxi, you can move 30 feet, so that's going to be 5 boxes, or 6 boxes, I'm sorry. The wood elf, I think you can move 35 feet, so you'll be able to move 7 boxes. Okay? Pretty much what your character sees, what you see is what you see. So you see that black bar, that's kind of shooting across that circle of light. That's because there's a tree trunk in front of you. So if you can't, as your character moves around, you'll see that bar, the line of sight change. So that way, as your character's moving, you can explore the world and discover it at the same time as your character. It becomes a lot of fun at times because, I set this up so that way people can see, stuff without it hiding already. But the thing is, as you're moving around, if you don't see anything on the board and then you move and then all of a sudden, you go behind a tree and you notice that there's a bear there that you didn't see before. It's like, oh shit. So it's it's like, is that what I think it is? And it's like, well, what does it look like to you? Oh, it looks like a bear. Yeah, it's a bear. So that's how the boards kind of work. So both of your characters are set up so that as soon as we get into the game next week, you're ready to go. But I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of what the board looks like. They're always going to change. This is just this particular scenario. So
Okay.
So
I immediately place my bear trap down on the floor now.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. You could. Yeah. Well, if you saw the bear. So even in this situation, you might say, okay, well, did they notice us? And I'll say, well, it doesn't seem like they noticed you. What do you want to do? It's like, all right, well, I want to try and sneak up behind that tree and get a better look. And then it's like, okay, let me get a stealth check from you. You're going to roll your stealth. And then, whenever you move stealthily, you move at half speed. And in this game, unless it specifically says to round up, we always round down. So your 35 feet divided by 2 is 17, or 17 and a half. So that's going to get knocked down to 15 feet. So what you would do is, let's just say, okay, you move 3 boxes. Okay? And then let's say, pebbles. It's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And you might say, well, okay, if I see him sneaking off, then, is this a rock over here to the left of me? Can I try and hide behind that rock? And it's like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Let me roll, let me get a stealth check. Or you might just walk up to them, and be like, I want to say hi. And that's it. So,
Okay, that
you
makes
walk
sense.
up,
Because
Go ahead.
let's say, probably in this case, I would probably ask kind of, do I recognize what creatures they are, or what humanoid creatures they are?
Yeah, especially if, that's not your species enemy, but something like this, I might say, well, you see a goblin, that one has a label on it. I'm gonna probably take all those labels away, but this is something that's really common.
It did?
So,
I didn't even see it.
oh, okay, so it doesn't show it to you then. So I might say, well, yeah, they just look like goblins, or I might say, let me get a history check, then you roll your history, and I'll say, you've never seen these before. But yeah, so this, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll take it nice and slow. Don't worry about any pressure of not knowing what's going on. You know, it's going to seem overwhelming at times, especially when combat actually starts and the first time you see one of your companions drop. It's like, oh shit, what do I do? So don't worry about it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And we'll get through it. This is a really good campaign, especially for beginners. And I've been doing this a long time, so hopefully, I'll do it some justice. All right.
That sounds good.
Yeah, but with that being said, I think we're gonna, let's wrap it up for today. It's almost 5 o'clock where I am. So what is it?
Yeah.
9 or 10 over there?
11 almost.
It's 11. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's.
Oh, that's perfect. It's a Saturday, so usually I'm up till like 2 a.m. anyway.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And what we'll do is we're probably gonna run those sessions on average about 3.5 hours. Sometimes
Sounds
we'll go
good.
a little bit longer. Sometimes we'll go a little bit shorter or whatever. But we'll just play it by ear. Yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask in Discord. I'm gonna check it in like every day at some point. If you want to come over here and look at the compendium on Roll20, you guys can jump on whenever you want. So,
Okay.
it's there. Whatever's here, feel free to use it. I will be getting more stuff, added to the compendium as I get them. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. So, you have any
Sounds
questions?
great.
You have any questions before we get out of here? Or...
No.
Okay, Eric, what about you?
No, it's fine. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you for all the help.
Okay, my pleasure. All right.
I'm
So
just trying to see how to edit the current thing, because I see launch level 1 character manager. Not sure if I click on that, does it launch the current one? Because I don't want to accidentally start leveling up already.
Well, no, it won't. It won't do the leveling up until you put some experience points in there and stuff. So, but what you could do is like, what do you want to do? Like, edit your background? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, for example. Okay, I see it works. Okay, I know how it
It's a
works.
little cogwheels to the right side, and you can, just go ahead and play with it. So, all right, I will see you all next Saturday. I hope you have a good week. And,
Same time?
Yep. Same bat channel, same bat time. And yeah, so.
All right.
All right, cool. So we'll see you soon. All right, have a good one.
Have a nice
Talk to you
week.
soon.
You too.
See you
Have a nice week.
Saturday.
And see you next week.